Chapter 3579. What? The purple gold divine dragon fell in love with the human? And left behind a descendant? Everyone looked at each other. Not far away. When Elder Hua and the others heard this, they looked at the white-bearded old man with flickering eyes. This old man seemed to be talking nonsense, but when they thought about it carefully, they felt that he was describing a fact. The demon hall master's eyes flashed. He turned to look at Chu Yun and asked in a low voice, "Xiao Yun, when you guys dealt with the first prince of the dragons last time, did this old man act differently?" "No. You've always looked like a coward." Chu Yun shook her head. "Timid." The demon hall master pondered for a while and frowned. But why does he not seem like a timid person? Chu Yun glanced at the white-bearded old man and said indifferently, "He's just a storyteller. What's there to pay attention to?" The demon hall master and Elder Hua looked at each other and did not say anything else. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "Old man, are you saying that Qin Feiyong is their descendant, and the blood flowing out of him is also the purple gold dragon blood?" "I didn't say that Qin Feiyong is their descendant. We can't talk nonsense about things that we can't be sure of." The white-bearded old man quickly waved his hand and said, "But what we can be sure of is that the blood flowing out of him is the legendary purple gold dragon blood." Purple gold dragon blood. Everyone's eyes trembled. If that was the case, wouldn't Qin Feiyong be their descendant? The descendant of a purple gold divine dragon and a human. Why did this sound a little mysterious? High up in the sky, Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons both displayed astonishing battle awareness. They fought back and forth, unable to tolerate each other. Rain poured down from the sky. However, no matter how heavy the rain was, it could not get close to them. Because before it could get close, it had already been evaporated by their powerful auras. It seems that the strength of the legendary level is already your limit. The first prince of the dragons smiled coldly. The aura and strength of his physical body surged crazily again. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the supreme level. Boom! Following closely. His eyes were filled with contempt as he punched towards Qin Feiyong's head. This can't be the heaven-defying strength of the supreme stage, right? Obviously it is. Because the crown prince's strength is enough to make me, a perfect sovereign realm expert, feel an intense sense of danger. What kind of monster is this? He actually improved his physical body to such a level. This is an existence that I can only look up to in my entire life. Everyone was extremely shocked. Facing such a powerful crown prince of the dragons, did Qin Feiyong have any chance of winning? But as soon as this thought appeared, another powerful aura erupted. Everyone looked at Qin Feiyong again, and they were slightly stunned. His physical body had also reached such a level. Boom! In the sky, Qin Feiyong's gaze was as sharp as a blade as he punched towards the first prince of the dragon's fist. Both of them were emitting dazzling divine light, as if they were in the state of awakening divine weapons. It was extremely terrifying. Accompanied by a loud boom, the two fists collided violently. A shocking power immediately rolled out from the two of them, shattering the void for tens of millions of miles. This is simply a scene of the end of the world. It's too terrifying. Everyone was shocked. The various powerhouses could no longer stand by and watch. For example, the Eastern Continent's Elder Hua and the other two, the Western Continent's Alliance Master and the other two, the Southern Continent's He Zhongqian, the Northern Continent's Sky Hall's powerhouses. They all stood up and protected the surrounding spectators. This was because the battle was very intense. Among these people, many had not reached the perfect sovereign realm, and many were even at the imperishable realm. With their cultivation, they could not withstand the shockwaves of the battle between Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons. In the sky, Qin Feiyong and the first prince of the dragons were like two gods of war. Their clothes and long hair fluttered in the wind as two invisible forces collided violently between their fists. However, compared to the calm and composed Qin Feiyong, the first prince of the dragons' expression was a little ferocious. This person's physical body had actually reached the supreme level of heaven-defying strength. Originally, when he saw that Qin Feiyong had maintained the heaven-defying strength of the legendary level, he thought that Qin Feiyong's physical body had only reached this level. In the eyes of others, the heaven-defying strength of the legendary level was a godlike existence. However, in the first prince's eyes, It could not withstand a single blow. He had already planned to use the strength of his physical body to give Qin Feiyong a fatal blow. However, he never expected that Qin Feiyong would be so good at hiding his true strength. How did you do it? I spent hundreds of thousands of years to raise the strength of my physical body to the supreme level of heaven-defying strength. But you, in just a few years, raised the strength of your physical body to this level. I cannot accept this. The first prince of the dragons roared as if he had gone mad. He had already planned that this time, not only would he defeat Qin Feiyong to wash away his shame, but he would also make Qin Feiyong lose all face. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, he would not dare to raise his head in front of others in the future. But who would have thought that Qin Feiyong's physical strength was not inferior to his at all? Who said that I had to spend hundreds of thousands of years like you? If I have to give you a reason, then I can only say that I worked harder than you, Qin Feiyong said indifferently. Worked harder than me? Do you know how much effort and sweat I put in to become stronger and inherit the position of the Golden Dragon clan's patriarch? When the other brothers and sisters were eating, drinking, and playing, I was cultivating. When the other brothers and sisters were acting spoiled in front of their parents, I was also cultivating. All the time I was thinking about how to become stronger. You still dare to say that you worked harder than me? What a joke. The first prince of the dragons roared as the power in his body surged out like a raging torrent. There's a saying that you don't know? There's always someone better than you. Just when you think that your path will be filled with difficulties, in some other places, some other people will have to walk a path that is even more difficult than yours. Qin Feiyong said indifferently as power surged out like a tide. Rumble. When the two forces met, the two immediately retreated. What you said might make sense, but I don't see it. I only see my own hardships. So today you must fall at my feet. The first prince of the dragons roared as a terrifying aura erupted from his body. In the next moment, his cultivation soared to the peak ruler realm. So what if your physical body is strong? In the face of absolute suppression of cultivation, you can only kneel and beg for mercy. At this moment, the first prince of the dragons was like a mad bull. His fists were like meteors as they flew toward Qin Feiyong. It can't be. He's hiding his cultivation. Peak ruler realm. He's one level higher than Qin Feiyong. Isn't this a one-sided situation? Seeing Qin Feiyong being beaten back by the first prince of the dragons, many people couldn't help but worry for Qin Feiyong. Sister, this person's strength isn't all that great. Pyrotechnic Glow pursed his lips. Not all that great. You were slapped into the sea by him? Princess Huafeng rolled her eyes at him. That's because his physical body is very strong. Putting aside his physical body, he's just average. Pyrotechnic Glow smiled disdainfully. Idiot. Princess Huafeng couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with this idiot. Why are you cursing? Pyrotechnic Glow was dissatisfied. Daifuku chuckled. Your Highness isn't wrong. Daifuku, what do you mean? Pyrotechnic Glow frowned. Daifuku said, Your Highness, think about it. If it's really as you say, Qin Feiyong is just an ordinary human, then can he break the limits of his physical body? This. Pyrotechnic Glow was speechless for a moment. He pursed his lips and said, He's just lucky. Lucky. Daifuku didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Breaking the limits of the physical body just because he was lucky? This statement was too naive. Princess Huafeng said indifferently, Daifuku, don't talk nonsense with this idiot, lest you lower your own intelligence. Sister, you're attacking me personally. If we weren't born of the same parents, I would have fallen out with you. When Pyrotechnic Glow heard this, a trace of anger appeared on his face. I'm also puzzled. Why is the difference so big even though we're both born of the same parents? Princess Huafeng shook her head and sighed. Pyrotechnic Glow was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Daifuku, Xiaofu, and the two women couldn't help but laugh. These two siblings were really enemies, fighting each other whenever they didn't agree. On the other side, the white-haired old woman, the white-haired old man, and the middle-aged man had been watching the battlefield. Seeing Qin Feiyong getting more and more embarrassed by the dragon's crown prince, they felt quite comfortable. Suddenly, a murmur sounded. The three of them immediately looked at Bing Runing, who was floating next to them. They saw Bing Runing's eyelids move and slowly open her eyes. What's going on? My head hurts. It seems like I was hit by someone. Bing Runing got up, rubbed the back of her head and frowned. It was me. The white-haired old man said. You? Bing Runing was stunned. She looked at the white-haired old man and said angrily, Why? Your Highness, you really need to calm down. The white-haired old man sighed. The white-haired old woman and the middle-aged man also nodded. Humph. Bing Runing glanced at the three of them and snorted. She looked up at the battlefield in the sky and was stunned. The dragon's crown prince is actually a perfected dominator. Moreover, both of them have broken the limits of their physical bodies. However, judging from the current situation, Qin Feiyong is definitely going to die. The white-haired old woman laughed sinisterly. A perfected dominator? Bing Runing looked at the dragon race's gambling prince in astonishment. She then looked at Qin Feiyong, who was in a sorry state, and sneered, It's best if you cut him into 1,000 pieces and grind his bones to dust. However, I haven't seen them activate their profound laws or sovereign divine weapons. They probably still have some tricks up their sleeves. The white-haired old man was relatively rational. Qin Feiyong dared to fight the dragon's crown prince, so he must have made sufficient preparations. In his opinion, the outcome of this battle was still hard to predict. However, he didn't say it out loud, fearing that Bing Runing would be dissatisfied. Chapter 3580. High up in the sky, Qin Feiyong was covered in blood and wounds. The crown prince of the dragons was the complete opposite. His momentum was unstoppable. I swore in my heart more than once that in this battle, I will let you have a taste of being trampled on. Now it's time for you to have a taste. Accompanied by a loud laugh, the crown prince of the dragons waved his hand, and a thunderous force surged out from his palm. The law of thunder. He had finally activated the law of thunder. Boom! The crown prince of the dragons slammed his palm on Qin Feiyong's chest. The thunderous force contained an unstoppable force and instantly pierced through Qin Feiyong's chest, leaving a fist-sized bloody hole. He spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and was sent flying. What's going on? Why isn't Qin Feiyong activating the law of thunder? Is he just waiting to be beaten up? What do you know? Facing the difference in cultivation, even if he activates the law of thunder, it won't help. I know that even the law of thunder cannot make up for the difference in cultivation, but rumor has it that Qin Feiyong has mastered the karma law of thunder's ultimate mystery. The ultimate mystery. Even if there is a difference of a small realm, it can still easily crush him. Seeing this scene, some people in the crowd began to argue. What? Why aren't you activating your ultimate mystery? Who are you looking down on? The crown prince of the dragons roared. The law of thunder turned into a terrifying thunderous force, covering the sky as it crazily charged at Qin Feiyong. Boom! Right at this moment, Qin Feiyong waved his big hand, and 10 golden lotuses appeared in the sky. Then they crushed the power of the thunderbolts in the void, and shattered them. Following closely, the 10 golden lotuses charged at the crown prince of the dragons. Did you see that? This is the karma law of thunder's ultimate mystery. It is indeed an invincible existence. Everyone was excited. So what if the crown prince of the dragons is strong? Everyone knew that cultivation was indeed an inseparable part of the sovereign realm, but the most important part was still the comprehension of the laws. Take the karma laws for example. Unless one possessed a karma law of the same level, who would be able to compete with it? That's how it should be. If it's too easy to defeat you, then it won't be interesting. When the crown prince of the dragons saw the 10 golden lotuses, he was not nervous. Instead he was excited. Rumble! Woo-woo! Accompanied by gusts of wind, an eye of lightning formed above the head of the first dragons. Thunder roared all around like the eye of the heavens, exuding an aura of destruction. This is the supreme profundity of the laws of lightning. Everyone was stunned. The first prince of the dragon clan swept his gaze over the crowd below. He looked at Qin Feiyong with an aggressive gaze and sneered. There are many people here who regard you as their idol. Today, I will break your idol's image in front of them and make you beg for mercy on the ground like a dog. As soon as he finished speaking, streaks of destructive lightning appeared and blasted toward the 10 golden lotuses. Rumble! A series of deafening noises immediately resounded in this world. The ultimate mystery of the ultimate mystery was indeed not something that ordinary laws could compare to. The destructive lightning continued to shatter. That's it. I thought it would be strong, but it turns out that it's just this. How dare you speak so arrogantly and make Qin Feiyong beg for mercy with just this little trick? You're overestimating yourself. Everyone immediately mocked. The crown prince of the dragons smirked and scanned the countless spectators. He said with disdain, "My tricks are not something that ants like you can imagine." Boom! Before he finished speaking, a terrifying aura accompanied by a destructive force rushed out of the crown prince of the dragon's body and rushed in all directions. The law of destruction? Everyone was surprised. Ultimate mystery, god of destruction. The crown prince of the dragons roared and a huge statue appeared above his head. The destructive aura instantly shrouded everyone present. Everyone was dumbfounded. This person not only mastered the ultimate mystery of the laws of lightning, but also the ultimate mystery of the laws of destruction. In this case, wouldn't Qin Feiyong be in danger? The law of destruction was also an ultimate mystery and was on par with the law of cause and effect. Coupled with the difference in cultivation, wouldn't Qin Feiyong lose without a doubt? Then they looked at Qin Feiyong opposite them. Looking at the god of destruction above the crown prince of the dragons, their eyes flickered. Could this be the ultimate inheritance that the crown prince of the dragons had obtained? Although he had yet to reveal his true strength, the methods that the crown prince of the dragons had displayed were already qualified to show disdain for others. A supreme-level physical body. The law of lightning, the law of destruction, two ultimate mysteries. With such methods, even people of the older generation like Elder Hua were no match for the crown prince of the dragons. Simply put, not counting the 4 forbidden areas, the crown prince of the dragons' current strength was enough to suppress an entire continent. Destroy! The crown prince of the dragons waved his hand and the god of destruction raised his arm. A huge palm that could cover the sky came crashing down toward the 10 golden lotuses. With a loud cracking sound, the 10 golden lotuses shattered on the spot. Pooh! Qin Feiyong spat out a mouthful of blood and kept retreating. The shattering of a supreme profound intent brought about severe injuries. His complexion paled. Don't you have 3,000 incarnations? Don't you have the 6-word divine art? Bring them all out. Watch how I crush them one by one. The crown prince of the dragons became even more arrogant. With the ultimate mysteries of the law of destruction and the law of lightning, in addition to his advantage in cultivation, he was no longer afraid of Qin Feiyong's methods. Of course, the slaughter zone was an exception. However, the slaughter zone and the sovereign divine weapon were pre-agreed upon and could not be activated. Therefore he was fearless now. The goddess of victory was standing behind him. Qin Feiyong remained silent. Boom! The ultimate mysteries of the law of destruction and the law of karma roared out at the same time. What? How did he master the ultimate mysteries of the law of destruction? When did this happen? Why have I never heard of it? Those who didn't know what was going on were all shocked. 2 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate mysteries. How shocking was that? Until now they had never seen such an existence. Even people like Elder Hua had only mastered one ultimate mystery of the ultimate mysteries of the ultimate mysteries. In terms of comprehension, Qin Feiyong was far superior to the first prince of the dragons. In fact, he had surpassed all living beings on the various continents. Princess Huafeng said indifferently, "Brother, now you see it. Do you still think he's ordinary?" Pyrotechnic Glow's mouth was so dry that he couldn't say anything. The paramount profound meanings of 2 supreme laws. Even in Feng people, no one had ever seen such a monster. One of the women shook her head and said, "Although he possesses 2 supreme profundities of supreme laws, the difference in cultivation is still unbridgeable. Just one more step and he'll be able to fully mature. As long as he's given some more time to break through to the perfection sovereign realm, with his means, let alone the 4 great continents, even our 4 great forbidden zones wouldn't dare to underestimate him." The other woman nodded in agreement. It was true that he was a monster, but he was still a monster that had yet to mature. Right. Pyrotechnic Glow heard their words and nodded repeatedly. So what if he has comprehended more supreme profundities? He still can't turn the tables and turn defeat into victory. In fact, in his heart, he already felt a sense of fear toward Qin Feiyong. At such a young age, He had already grasped 2 supreme profundities of supreme laws. If he continued to grow, how powerful would he be? However, the first prince of the dragons wasn't surprised that Qin Feiyang had grasped 2 supreme profundities. The corners of his mouth were also full of disdain. The destruction god's giant hand carried an apocalyptic aura, as it slammed toward the 2 supreme profundities. With a loud boom, Qin Feiyang's 2 supreme profundities were shattered on the spot. The next moment, the destruction god's giant hand slammed toward Qin Feiyang. Boom! In the nick of time, Qin Feiyang activated the battle formula and the law of war. However, in the face of the destruction god's giant hand, the armor formed by the battle formula shattered instantly with a crack. Dong! Following closely, Qin Feiyang was like a blood-stained meteorite as he crashed into the sea below, causing huge waves to surge. Long Chan took a sip of tea and looked at the white-eyed wolf with a smile. I told you that Brother Qin would be in for a tough battle. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and looked at Long Chan strangely. What? Is there a problem with what I said? Long Chan was suspicious. No problem, no problem. The white-eyed wolf shook his paws and sighed. I already told little Qinzi not to fight with that bullshit first prince before he breaks through to sovereign perfection, but he just won't listen. Long Chan smiled. Brother Qin is indeed a little careless regarding this matter. Isn't that so? But there's no other way. They've already started fighting. Now we can only pray to the heavens and hope for a miracle. The white-eyed wolf shook his head, but his eyes were full of smiles. Did he really think that little Qinzi would lose? Just wait, the best part was yet to come. Splash! Waves surged in the sea below. Qin Feiyang rushed out of a wave, his body dripping with blood. His face was pale and his aura was very weak. If not for the dual protection of the battle character art and the law of war, he would have been doomed. However, it didn't matter because everything was under control. Why didn't you activate your 3,000 clones? I heard that that's your true trump card. The first prince of the dragon clan looked down at Qin Feiyang, who was standing on the surface of the sea, and laughed loudly. Qin Feiyang, you have to do your best. We all have high hopes for you. Yes, quickly beat him up and shut him up. It's so annoying to listen to his chatter. The surrounding crowd roared. It's useless. No matter how strong he is, he won't be able to defeat the first prince of the dragons, unless he can break through to the peak ruler realm now. If he really breaks through to the peak ruler realm, he'll be able to turn the situation around in an instant. But breaking through to the peak ruler realm isn't something that can be done so easily. Someone sighed. At least there are a few sensible people. The dragon race's crown prince raised his head and laughed heartily. Suddenly, he lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Killing intent burst out from his eyes as he said sinisterly, "Your biggest mistake is coming to fight me before you even stepped into the great perfection sovereign realm." The destruction god standing in the sky exuded a ferocious aura that intimidated everyone. Chapter 3581. Isn't this what you want? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The first prince of the dragons was slightly taken aback. How could he still be so calm? This face of his was really detestable. Boom! The destruction god took a step forward like a god descending to the world. His divine might was unfathomable. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly. He glanced at Long Chan, then looked at the first prince of the dragons and said, "If I'm not wrong, you should have heard from Long Chan that my cultivation is only at the perfected sovereign realm. That's why you challenged me." The white-eyed wolf heard this and turned to look at Long Chan. Long Chan smiled faintly and said, "I just said it casually." It was Long Chan who had brought them out of the heavy region, so Long Chan knew about Qin Feiyang's cultivation. "I just said it casually, but I think your motives are not pure." The white-eyed wolf sneered. The fire dragon sneered and said, "If the god's son's motives were not pure, he wouldn't have saved you in the heavy region." The white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. This did make sense. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener did. The first prince of the dragon seized the opportunity to challenge Qin Feiyang directly when Long Chan said it casually. This was because before Qin Feiyang stepped into the perfected sovereign realm, the first prince of the dragons had the ability to crush him with the supreme profundity of the law of destruction. Even if Qin Feiyang activated his 3,000 clones, he still wouldn't be able to turn the situation around. The first prince of the dragons nodded and said, "That's right. I heard from the god's son that you're only at the perfected sovereign realm, so I immediately challenged you. Actually, you could have rejected it. But you also expected that I wouldn't reject it." Qin Feiyang said faintly, "Yes. Your pride won't allow you to reject someone's challenge, but sometimes pride can kill people." The first prince of the dragons sneered. "Wrong." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Wrong?" The first prince of the dragons was stunned and asked suspiciously, "What's wrong? You made a total of 4 mistakes. First, you overestimate me. Self-esteem and pride are nothing in my eyes. I know I'm not your match, so why would I accept your challenge? Isn't it good to live? Besides, when we made the agreement back then, we didn't say that the time of the challenge would be decided by you. So, as you said before, I can completely refuse. Secondly, when you challenged me, you shouldn't have chosen 10 days later. Because to me, a lot of things can happen in 10 days. But I can also think of the reason why you chose 10 days later. Because 10 days ago when you challenged me, you weren't fully prepared. Thirdly, you shouldn't be confused by appearances, and you shouldn't let your pride get to your head. You can hide your cultivation and strength, so why can't I do the same? Fourthly, you shouldn't be so confident and reveal your true strength so early. I'm sure you've heard of the saying, "Know thyself and know thy enemy, and thou shalt be victorious in every battle." Throughout the entire process, Qin Feiyang's tone was extremely flat, as if he was narrating an unimportant matter. But, when the first prince of the dragons heard these words, he immediately felt a sense of unease. This was because Qin Feiyang was far too calm at this moment. He could even sense a hint of mockery in his words. But the most terrifying part was the third part. You can hide your cultivation and strength, so why can't I? Could it be boom? Before the first prince of the dragon race could think of such a thing, a terrifying aura erupted like a volcano. The first prince of the dragons was stunned. As he had expected, this person was also hiding his cultivation. This is the aura of a great perfection dominator. I didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be a great perfection dominator. No wonder he didn't panic at all. The surrounding onlookers were also enlightened at this moment. So fast. He Zhongtian, who was standing beside the second princess of the dragons, muttered. The last time he came to Seven-Star City, Qin Feiyang was only a great perfection dominator. But in just 10 days, he had broken through to great perfection dominator without anyone noticing. It could be said that the exposure of Qin Feiyang's cultivation caused everyone present to feel extreme shock. Even Elder Hua and the other two were shocked. Although Elder Hua had sent a message to Qin Feiyang in the morning, he didn't pay attention to Qin Feiyang's cultivation. Even he thought that Qin Feiyang's cultivation was still at great perfection dominator. Of course, the ones who were the most shocked were Bing Runing and the second princess of the dragons. Although there was only one step between great perfection dominator and great perfection dominator, the difference was like heaven and earth. No matter how strong a great perfection dominator was, he would be suppressed by a great perfection dominator. However, once a great perfection dominator stepped into this realm, it was equivalent to stepping onto the top of the pyramid of the sky cloud realm. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that this step was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Especially for someone like Qin Feiyang who had grasped two supreme laws. Once he stepped into the great perfection dominator realm, he would be an invincible existence. Whether it was his status or identity, it would instantly soar by a large margin. It could be said that if it wasn't based on seniority and strength, even Elder Hua and the other big shots would have to respectfully address Qin Feiyang as senior. After stepping into the great perfection dominator realm, Qin Feiyang already had the ability to suppress all the super forces. Qin Feiyang stepped into the sky step by step and looked at the first prince of the dragons with a faint smile. I thought that victory was in my hands and I could trample on you as I wished. But I suddenly realized that everything was just my wishful thinking. I think it's hard for you to accept this fact now, right? The first prince of the dragons clenched his fists. Yes. He knew that Qin Feiyang's cultivation was still at the great perfection dominator realm, which was why he challenged him at this time. However, he never expected that Qin Feiyang had already broken through to the great perfection dominator realm. Moreover, Qin Feiyang had been holding back until now before revealing his true strength, which ruthlessly destroyed his confidence and arrogance. So now you should know why I haven't activated my 3,000 incarnations. It's because you don't have the qualifications to make me activate my 3,000 incarnations. His words were still very calm, but everyone present couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. How much courage did one need to say such arrogant words to the first prince of the dragons? However, they had to admit that Qin Feiyong did indeed have the qualifications to say such words. As his voice fell, the supreme profundities of the laws of karma and the laws of destruction instantly appeared. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions like a tide. The heavens collapsed, the void was annihilated, and massive waves rose up in the sea. It was like the scene of the end of the world. Two supreme laws of supreme laws. Even we can only submit to them. Elder Hu smiled bitterly. However, he felt more gratified in his heart, because he didn't misjudge. How long had it been since Qin Feiyong entered the Sky Cloud realm? Now he had grown into a giant. Now, if the experts of the four forbidden lands didn't appear, who could compete with this kid? Yes. For our Demon Hall, this is also a qualitative leap. The Demon Hall's hallmaster nodded. The Demon Hall's stance these years was a huge gamble, because whether it was facing the dragons or the phone people, they chose to stand with Qin Feiyong. Especially when facing the dragons, Qin Feiyong hadn't grown yet. At that time, choosing to stand with Qin Feiyong was completely gambling with their lives. Fortunately, Qin Feiyong didn't disappoint them. Now, in the four continents, Qin Feiyong already had the absolute right to speak. His position was unshakable. I don't even have the qualifications to make him activate his 3,000 incarnations, the first prince of the dragons muttered to himself. In his heart, a monstrous anger erupted. What are you being arrogant for? Boom! The supreme profound of the destruction law and the thunder law roared out at the same time, carrying the power to destroy the world, crazily attacking Qin Feiyong. When Qin Feiyong revealed his true cultivation, he already knew that this battle could be declared over. However, he couldn't accept it. As the first prince of the dragons, as the successor of the Golden Dragon clan, he couldn't lose here. Because he had already obtained the supreme profound and had promised his clan that he would definitely defeat Qin Feiyong. If he lost here today, not only would he suffer a fatal psychological trauma, but even the Golden Dragon clan wouldn't let him off easily. At that time, he, the high and mighty first prince, would definitely fall from the altar and become a street rat that everyone wanted to beat up. He couldn't help but collapse just thinking about such a miserable situation. Boom! In an instant, the four supreme profound collided with a loud explosion that shook the heavens and earth. The supreme profound of the thunder law was simply like a withered tree in the face of the supreme profound of the supreme profound. Collapsed instantly. Then the two supreme profound blasted toward the god of destruction. The result was the same. In the face of the two supreme profound of the supreme profound, the first prince of the dragon's destruction law was extremely weak and shattered in the void. Puff! He coughed out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. His face was deathly pale. I'm not being arrogant. It's just that you've been traumatized and think that I'm being arrogant. Although compared to the other princes and princesses, you're indeed more outstanding in the end, you're still a good-for-nothing with a weak heart. Qin Feiyong shook his head. A terrifying aura shook the world. The two supreme profound blasted the sky like lightning and blasted toward the first prince of the dragons. Just as the first prince of the dragons was about to die under the supreme profound, a dazzling golden light suddenly erupted from his body. In the next instant, a golden barrier appeared about 100 feet wide. The first prince of the dragons stood in the middle of the barrier and looked at the two supreme profound with a sinister smile. Boom! The two supreme profound blasted toward the golden barrier, but it only trembled a few times before returning to normal. What? What's that? Looking at this scene, the spectators were dumbfounded. This was too unbelievable. One had to know those weren't ordinary laws, nor were they ordinary supreme profound. They were the karma law and the destruction law. How could he block them? He must be dreaming. Chapter 3582. Longchan shook his head and said, "White-eyed wolf, you're not being honest." "What do you mean?" The white-eyed wolf looked at Longchan suspiciously. "Brother Qin broke through to the sovereign realm and kept it from me." When I said that Brother Qin would be in a tough battle, you must have mocked me in your heart. Long Chun was helpless. Haha, the white-eyed wolf laughed. Long Chun rolled his eyes and looked at the golden barrier. He smiled and said, however, with this golden dragon domain, even if Brother Qin breaks through to the sovereign realm, he'll still be in a tough battle. Golden dragon domain, fire dragon domain, these things seem to be forbidden techniques. It's supported by vitality. It's fine if you use it to escape, but if you use it to fight, you'll just be digging your own grave. The white-eyed wolf smiled disdainfully. Long Chun was slightly stunned and looked at the white-eyed wolf in surprise. The white-eyed wolf said indifferently, "Don't look at me like that. It's not like I haven't fought with dragons before." Long Chun laughed involuntarily. He then looked at the Dragon Crown Prince in the Golden Dragon domain and muttered, "How are you going to break out of this deadlock?" It was just as the white-eyed wolf said. The Golden Dragon's domain and the Fire Dragon's domain might be useful for escaping, but using them in a battle was simply courting death. This was because you had to use vitality as the price to maintain the Golden Dragon domain. You didn't have the qualifications to continue fighting. For example now, although Qin Feiyang couldn't break out of the Golden Dragon domain, as long as he delayed the Dragon Crown Prince, he would be the final victor. This was because he only needed to delay. Once the first prince of the Dragon Clan ran out of life force, the Golden Dragon domain would disappear. Therefore, he didn't need to forcefully break out of the Golden Dragon domain. Do you think I'll escape? Let me tell you I won't. The first prince of the dragons roared, and the power of various laws surged out. The law of destruction, the law of lightning, and the law of death. Among the remaining 4 laws, there was actually one of the strongest laws. Obviously, the law of death was something the crown prince of the dragons had truly comprehended on his own. As for the law of destruction, it was the supreme inheritance of the Golden Dragon clan. Apart from the law of destruction and the law of thunder, the rest of the 6 laws had already reached the 5th profundity. Boom! As the first prince of the dragons waved his hand, the various profound abilities turned into a torrent that surged toward Qin Feiyang. But for this, Qin Feiyang just smiled faintly. There were no fancy tricks. Just the supreme profundities of the laws of destruction and the laws of karma were enough to crush them. As time passed, the dragon race's first prince's appearance started to age. His heart was filled with despair. Although the Golden Dragon domain had a very strong defensive power, it didn't have much destructive power. It wasn't a problem to keep his life, but he had to escape from this desperate situation as soon as possible. Otherwise, when his vitality was exhausted, he would directly fall without the need for the other party to make a move. Unexpected. The little princess of the dragons murmured. In fact, she didn't think highly of Qin Feiyang at first. The reason why she still cooperated with Qin Feiyang was because she wanted to give it a try. Secondly, she wanted to let Qin Feiyang and the first prince of the dragons fight each other. When there was an opportunity, she would stand out and reap the benefits. But right now, the strength that Qin Feiyang displayed was a completely one-sided situation. It was obviously impossible to reap the benefits of the fisherman. Now she didn't want to think about other things for the time being. She only hoped that Qin Feiyang could successfully kill the first prince of the dragons. This could also be considered as fulfilling a wish in her heart. The first prince of the dragons was still struggling. Although he also had the Eye of Heaven, the situation was the same as Qin Feiyang's Eye of Heaven. Right now it was of little use and had no use. At this moment, his hair had already become dry and snow-white. His face was also full of wrinkles. His entire person was like an old man in his 70s or 80s. Has it really come to an end? I can't accept this. I am the first prince of the dragons, the future successor of the Golden Dragon clan. How can I be defeated in the hands of a human? He roared in his heart. But the despair in his heart surged out uncontrollably, constantly destroying his fighting spirit. About 10 breaths later, his originally strong body was now like dry wood. His breath was dying, and his vitality had reached the end. With a crack, the Golden Dragon domain disintegrated on its own. You've won this battle. The first prince of the dragons looked at Qin Feiyang with a miserable expression and slowly collapsed. Qin Feiyang silently looked at the first prince of the dragons. Although they were old enemies, the first prince of the dragons' final performance made him look at him in a new light. Because he did not escape and had been fighting until now. He did not activate the sovereign divine weapon, nor did he ask the second princess of the dragons and the others to help. This meant that this person had indeed relied on his own ability to defeat him. In short, at the last moment, the first prince of the dragon's actions could be considered a real man. You didn't lose to me. You lost to your own conceit. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Yes. At this moment I understand why I lost to you. But a loss is a loss. I have nothing to say. Cherish the eye of heaven. Don't let down its power. The first prince of the dragons said weakly. As his voice fell, a purple gold eye swept out from between his eyebrows. It was the eye of heaven. Treat it well, cherish it. Looking at the eye of heaven, the first prince of the dragons murmured. In the end he fell to the sea below. The moment the eye of heaven appeared, the fighting soul in Qin Feiyang's body started to stir. He could clearly feel a desire from it. Boom! In the next moment, the purple gold dragon soul appeared on its own. The eye of heaven between his eyebrows opened on its own. Rays of divine light surged out and enveloped the first prince of the dragon's eye of heaven. But at this moment, the fire dragon, who was lying on Long Chen's shoulder, suddenly jumped out and swept toward the eye of heaven. You're courting death. The white-eyed wolf suddenly stood up and activated instant time, instantly blocking in front of the fire dragon. This was because it had expected that the fire dragon would definitely interfere. After all, once the eye of heaven merged, Qin Feiyang would become a truly invincible existence. Therefore it had been paying attention to the fire dragon. You're the one courting death. The fire dragon sneered, and the supreme intent of the law of destruction roared out. Boom! At the same time, the white-eyed wolf's body fought. The supreme intents of the law of karma, the law of death, the law of space-time, and the law of destruction were all activated in an instant. What? It actually has so many supreme intents. And they're all supreme intents. The surrounding crowd was instantly shocked. The instant time, the law of space-time, and the other supreme intents. These were the supreme intents of the 5 supreme intents. Terrifying, truly terrifying. However, the fire dragon had a look of disdain. So what if it had more supreme intents? The difference in cultivation could never be made up for. The law of destruction charged forward. Rumble. Boom. Boom. The white-eyed wolf's supreme intents of the 4 supreme intents shattered on the spot. If it were any other supreme intents, even if the white-eyed wolf was only a perfected dominator, it would still be invincible. However, the fire dragon also had a supreme intent of the supreme intents of the supreme intents of the supreme intents. This was the factor that made it unbeatable. Immediately after, the law of destruction blasted toward the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf let out a miserable groan and was sent flying, blood gushing out of its body. If it hadn't broken the limits of its physical body, the fire dragon's attack would have been enough to kill it. At this moment, because of the white-eyed wolf's obstruction, Qin Feiyang's eye of heaven emitted a purple gold beam of light that connected the dragon's eye of heaven to the first prince's eye of heaven like a divine chain. The moment the two were connected, a majestic aura surged out in all directions with the two as the center. At the same time, the dragon race's crown prince's eye of heaven also slowly flew towards Qin Feiyang's eye of heaven. Don't even think about successfully merging. The fire dragon's murderous intent soared as the law of destruction madly charged toward Qin Feiyang. Bastard! The white-eyed wolf roared as it activated all its supreme intents and once again charged in front of the fire dragon. You want to die that much? Okay. This emperor will fulfill your wish. The fire dragon raised his eyebrows as his murderous intent surged. The law of destruction's supreme intents were like a terrifying god as it shattered the white-eyed wolf's supreme intents, and then slapped at the white-eyed wolf. Roar! With a howl, the white-eyed wolf's physical body cracked open, and blood dyed the sky red as it smashed into the sea below. After the white-eyed wolf's delay, the dragon's eye of heaven was about to reach Qin Feiyang. The fire dragon panicked. If Qin Feiyang really managed to merge with the eye of heaven, then he would be able to replicate both the law of destruction and the heaven-defying divine art. Qin Feiyang's strength was already frightening enough. If the eye of heaven successfully evolved, then he would be able to kill any god or demon that stood in his way. With Big Bro here, don't even think about stopping little Qin Z. With a roar, the white-eyed wolf charged out once more, exuding an unparalleled aura with all its supreme intents. An unkillable cockroach? The fire dragon raised his eyebrows and looked at the second princess and the others. He shouted, "Hurry up and stop Qin Feiyang. Otherwise, you will all become his stepping stones in the future." The second princess and the others shuddered as they looked at Qin Feiyang with murderous intent in their eyes. In the next moment, with a loud bang, sovereign divine weapons appeared one after another. The white dragon sword, the blood dragon blade, the black dragon mirror. There were a total of 8 sovereign divine weapons. "Retreat!" Elder Hui shouted at the crowd when he saw the situation. He had never thought that this battle would turn into a battle between the sovereign divine weapons. Hearing Elder Hui's roar, the crowd immediately turned around and fled for their lives. They knew that once the sovereign divine weapons started fighting, only death would await them if they stayed. The only ones who didn't move were the young man and Long Chen. Long Chen's eyes flickered, but he didn't stop the fire dragon. No one knew what he was thinking. As for the young man, he still looked sleepy. "Hurry up and kill him." As the Dragon Clan's princes and princesses shouted, the white dragon sword and the other sovereign divine weapons immediately charged towards Qin Feiyang. Faced with such a situation, there was no doubt that he would die. However, Qin Feiyang didn't despair because of this. With a clang, the ancient castle appeared, and its divine aura shook the surroundings. Clang! The Grim Reaper's sword and the horsetail whisk also appeared. "Even if you have 3 sovereign divine weapons, can you stop 8 of our sovereign divine weapons?" The second princess sneered. Chapter 3583. "You're underestimating me, Qin Feiyang. Since I dared to come to White Crane Island to accept the challenge, I'm already prepared to deal with you." Fire Phoenix Sword. Fire Phoenix Divine Jade. Qin Feiyang roared. With a loud clang, the 2 sovereign divine weapons flew out of Princess Huafeng's body. They streaked across the sky like lightning and arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. "What?" The second princess of the dragons, as well as Bing Runing's group, all looked at this scene in shock. The 2 sovereign divine weapons were actually helping Qin Feiyang? "Sister, what's going on?" Pyrotechnic Glow and the 2 women also looked at Princess Huafeng in surprise. This is the agreement between him and father. The 2 sovereign divine weapons will now listen to Qin Feiyang's orders. Princess Huafeng transmitted her voice. They will listen to Qin Feiyang's orders. Pyrotechnic Glow and the other 2 looked at each other. With the appearance of the Fire Phoenix Sword and Fire Phoenix Divine Jade, the ancient castle, the horsetail whisk, and the Grim Reaper's sword, Qin Feiyang now had 5 sovereign divine weapons. Although it wasn't enough to deal with the dragon's 8 sovereign divine weapons, it was enough to delay them for a while. On the other side, the white-eyed wolf was once again sent flying by the fire dragon, and his body was torn apart. "I'll send you to hell right now." The fire dragon roared and charged toward the white-eyed wolf. "Who are you sending to hell? Did you ask for my permission?" However, at this moment, a black-clothed young man descended from the sky and slapped at the fire dragon. Boom! A wave of death energy rolled out from the black-clothed young man's palm. Caught off guard, the fire dragon was sent flying. "Madman!" The white-eyed wolf floated in the void and looked at the black-clothed young man in front of him in surprise. That's right. This person was the lunatic who had been separated from him for a long time. Madman's appearance not only surprised Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, but also surprised the second princess of the dragons. "Hey!" The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf and bared his teeth. "I didn't expect you to be in such a sorry state. You're really embarrassing me." Scram! White-eyed wolf's face darkened. "Tell me and you're still unhappy." Madman pouted and looked at the fire dragon. "You dare to bully my brother? You really don't know your place." Boom! As his voice fell, a terrifying aura erupted. He had reached the peak sovereign realm. Following closely, the Edict of Death and Edict of Destruction surged out. A dark red waning moon and a giant statue appeared above the madman's head. "Damn you!" The white-eyed wolf roared. Not only had he raised his cultivation to the sovereign realm, but he had also comprehended the supreme profundities of the laws of death and the laws of destruction. Just how had the madman been cultivating on Skycloud Island all these years? "Haha, did you see that? This is my disciple." At the same time, the Hall of Famers was also secretly laughing, looking at the Alliance Master and Vice Alliance Master, as well as the Divine Python couple. His expression was full of pride. The Alliance Master and the others rolled their eyes at him. "We know your disciple is outstanding, but there's no need to deliberately show off." However, this little madman was indeed powerful. After not seeing him for a while, he had comprehended two supreme profundities of the laws of death. This strength was not inferior to Qin Feiyang at all. Boom! With a wave of the madman's hand, the two supreme profundities immediately charged toward the fire dragon. The fire dragon's pupils suddenly shrank. The supreme profundities of the law of destruction surged as he frantically attacked. But there was no suspense. The madman's two supreme profundities completely crushed him. Then, the two supreme profundities blasted onto the fire dragon's body, and a terrifying fluctuation instantly drowned the fire dragon. "Hurry up!" Seeing how powerful the madman was, the second princess's eyes trembled. She looked at the dragon mirror and the other sovereign divine weapons and shouted, "Hurry up!" The 8 sovereign divine weapons crazily attacked. The 5 sovereign divine weapons, including the ancient castle, desperately protected Qin Feiyang. For a moment, although the ancient castle and the other sovereign divine weapons were in a passive situation, they were still barely able to resist. Ice Phoenix Sword, Black Ice Divine Hammer, Black Ice Divine Bow, go help! Seeing this, Bing Runing shouted. The 3 sovereign divine weapons immediately rushed out and went straight to the battlefield. "Bing Runing, what are you doing?" Princess Huafeng shouted. Bing Runing sneered. "I should be the one asking you this. Why are you helping Qin Feiyang?" Princess Huafeng's face was as dark as water. "Sister, do you need my help?" Pyrotechnic Glow said in a deep voice. Princess Huafeng said, "Nonsense, we have to protect Qin Feiyang." Pyrotechnic Glow's eyes turned cold when he heard this. Fire Phoenix Blade, Divine Phoenix Spear, protect Qin Feiyang. Following 2 loud clangs, a long saber made of scarlet flames and a long spear made of fire flew out of Hua Zihui's body. They tore through the sky like lightning and attacked the 3 sovereign divine weapons. In fact, Qin Feiyang's side was still at a disadvantage. If this continued, Qin Feiyang's side would definitely lose. After all, the difference in the number of sovereign divine weapons was too great. But fortunately, the ancient castle's sovereign divine weapons weren't fighting with their lives on the line. They just needed to block the Ice Phoenix Sword and the other sovereign divine weapons. So many sovereign divine weapons. The madman's expression froze, but then a sinister smile appeared on his face. He glanced at the dragons and said, "I came prepared." Clang! Boom! With a series of loud clangs, rays of divine light flew out of the madman's body. There were blades, spears, swords, halberds, everything. The aura they emitted was that of a sovereign divine weapon. There were 8 of them. What? The white-eyed wolf looked at the madman dumbfounded. The dragon race's group, Bing Runing's group, and even Princess Huafeng's group were shocked to the extreme. How could there be 8 sovereign divine weapons? Even Long Chan and the young man looked at the madman dumbfounded. This guy was too abnormal. 8 sovereign divine weapons, the ancient castle, the horsetail whisk, the sword of the Grim Reaper, the Fire Phoenix Divine Jade, the Fire Phoenix Sword, the Fire Phoenix Blade, and the Divine Phoenix Spear. There were a total of 15 sovereign divine weapons. In just an instant, Qin Feiyang's side turned the situation around. This was because the dragons only had 11 sovereign divine weapons, including Bing Runing's 3. I wanted to help them, but I didn't expect them to have such a terrifying foundation. The young man shook his head and yawned lazily. The snow python on his shoulder smiled bitterly when it heard this. Long Chen's eyes flashed when he heard the young man's words. He was here to help Qin Feiyang. It seemed like the relationship between the two was not simple. Kiki, the madman, took a step forward and landed beside Qin Feiyang with the white-eyed wolf. He glanced at Bing Runing and the dragons and said arrogantly, "Continue if you dare. See how I'll deal with you." "Yeah, weren't you very arrogant before? Come, come, come." The white-eyed wolf was also extremely arrogant. Previously, his physical body had not been destroyed, but it had been reconstructed. After consuming the Divine Life Pill, Primordial Sea Divine Pill, and Divine Sun Divine Pill, his broken physical body, Sea of Qi, and Sea of Consciousness were all recovering rapidly. Looking at the ingrate and lunatic, Bing Runing and the rest of the dragon tribe's people's faces sank. Boom! It was at this moment. The dragon's eye of heaven finally met with Qin Feiyang's eye of heaven. The moment the two met, a dazzling divine light burst out and merged with each other. At this moment, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Strong winds howled and gave birth to all kinds of strange phenomena. In just a few breaths, a mighty aura rolled out from above Qin Feiyang. Everyone looked up at the eye of heaven. It was completely different from the previous eye of heaven. At this moment the eye of heaven was black and white, like a mysterious taiji pattern. It was as if there was a world within it, with mountains and rivers, the sun, the moon, the stars, and thousands of gods and demons. That eye of heaven seemed to be able to steal the sun and steal the fortune of heaven and earth. This is the complete eye of heaven, Long Chan murmured. Everyone present couldn't suppress a sense of awe in their hearts. It was as if there was really an eye of heaven looking down on all living beings. Senior brother, activate your law profound. Qin Feiyang suddenly shouted. The madman quivered and the law of death and the law of destruction roared out. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the eye of heaven sprinkled a black and white divine light, enveloping the madman's too profound. Immediately after, under countless shocked gazes, the purple gold dragon god also rapidly manifested two supreme profound meanings in the air above it. Success. The madman's eyes trembled. As far as Qin Feiyang was concerned, this was a great transformation. It could be said that the evolution of the Eye of Heaven allowed Qin Feiyang's combat strength to instantly increase by countless times. Haha! Qin Feiyang looked at the two replicated profound and couldn't help but laugh. The next moment, he looked at Bing Runing with a cold light in his eyes. The two profound meanings instantly shattered the sky as they madly rushed towards Bing Runing. Your Highness, be careful. The white-haired old man, the white-haired old woman, and the middle-aged man took a step forward and the power of law surged out. The white-haired old woman activated the law of ice's profound. The middle-aged man activated the law of death's profound. The white-haired old man waved his hand and a surge of space-time energy rolled out. The law of space-time's profound also instantly appeared. It could be said that no one present could stop the supreme profundities of the two supreme laws, and the supreme profundities of the law of ice. However, Qin Feiyang's face was full of ridicule. Copy. Following his shout, the white-haired old woman and the other two's profound were also successfully copied. In this way, in addition to the madman's two profound, there were a total of 5 profound. The 5 supreme ultimates brought with them a torrential might as they blasted out. With a loud bang, the 3 supreme ultimates of the white-haired old lady and the other 2 were shattered in the void. Then the 5 supreme ultimates blasted towards Bing Runing and the other 3. Protect Her Highness! The white-haired old man roared. A supreme-grade heaven-defying armor appeared on their bodies, but it was meaningless. Facing the 5 profound, it shattered on the spot. Immediately after, the 5 profound meanings blasted onto the 3 of them, and a world-destroying aura burst forth, instantly engulfing the white-haired old woman, the other 2 and Bing Runing. Screams rang out. In just a few breaths, the 3's bodies shattered. Bing Runing was even more miserable, and even her divine soul was annihilated. Seeing that the 4 of them were about to lose their lives, the Ice Phoenix Sword, and the other 2 sovereigns' divine weapons rushed back and swept up their divine souls before retreating far away. Chapter 3584. Looking at the 3 sovereign divine weapons and the divine souls of Bing Runing's group, everyone present couldn't help but shudder. The Eye of Heaven was too terrifying to be able to replicate the ultimate profundity. One had to know that the white-haired old woman and the other 2 were super experts, but in front of Qin Feiyang, they were as weak as babies. The current Qin Feiyang was simply invincible. Haha, from now on, the demon hall will step onto the path of light. Elder Hua laughed inwardly. Although Qin Feiyang might not be a match for the 4 forbidden zones, he believed that it was only a matter of time before he surpassed them. If even the 4 forbidden zones were suppressed by Qin Feiyang, the Demon Hall would definitely benefit from it. Good. Our Rogue Cultivator Alliance will step onto unprecedented glory because of these little guys. The Deputy Alliance Leader, the Hall of Famers, was also very excited. How could they not be? Qin Feiyang and Feng Zi were their disciples. The two of them had achieved what they had today, so they felt proud too. Could be said that the Demon Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance benefited the most from the rise of Qin Feiyang and the others. Of course, there was also the Heavenly Joy Pavilion. The Heavenly Joy Pavilion's despair was inextricably linked to Qin Feiyang. Although Yue Qing and Yi Miao's cultivation were not very high, they had chosen the right side. If they had betrayed Qin Feiyang in the face of Pei Tianhong's threat, the Heavenly Joy Pavilion would have disappeared from the Sky Cloud realm. In fact, not only the Demon Hall, but the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Heavenly Joy Pavilion were also making a huge gamble. In the end, it turned out that they had made the right bet. In the blink of an eye, the three sovereign divine weapons carried Bing Runing and the others far away and turned back to look at Qin Feiyang. Because their physical bodies had been destroyed, the four of them had revealed their true forms. They were all ice phoenixes. At this moment, their eyes were filled with fear. They looked at Qin Feiyang as if they were looking at the Divine King. This is the legendary divine beast, Ice Phoenix? It seems that the so-called Feng people are all phoenixes. Usually it's hard to even see a phoenix. But now, a Feng people actually came out. How many phoenixes are there in a clan? Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the divine souls of Bing Runing's group. But what shocked them the most was that even the divine beast Phoenix could not withstand a single blow from Qin Feiyang. Pyrotechnic glow swept his gaze over Bing Runing and the others. Suddenly, his spirits rose as he looked at Princess Huafeng and transmitted his voice. I understand, sis. Ah, Princess Huafeng was stunned. What did she understand? Pyrotechnic glow glanced at the people around him and said mysteriously, you must have made a promise to Qin Feiyang. What the hell? Princess Huafeng was stunned. Private pledge of marriage? What the hell was this? Otherwise, why would father make the Fire Phoenix Divine Jade and Fire Phoenix Sword listen to his orders? Sister, I really didn't expect you to be so secretive. You actually got me a brother-in-law without anyone knowing. Pyrotechnic glow snickered. Princess Huafeng's face darkened as she gave Pyrotechnic glow a smack on the head. It was so painful that Pyrotechnic glow cried out. High up in the sky, Qin Feiyang, Frenzy, and the white-eyed wolf all raised their heads and looked at the eye of heaven between the brows of the purple gold dragon soul. Their eyes were filled with shock. The complete eye of heaven was too powerful. It was simply unrivaled. Frenzy suddenly laughed and said, now you feel better, right? In the past, Qin Feiyang always said that the eye of heaven was inferior to his and the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. But now the eye of heaven had evolved and displayed heaven-defying abilities. In terms of combat power, it was not inferior to his and the white-eyed wolf's battle soul. No, they couldn't say that. Their three battle souls each had their own merits and couldn't be measured by combat power. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. But to be honest, he still had many doubts in his heart. The eye of heaven was naturally powerful. After all, it was one of the 10 strongest battle souls. But the white-eyed wolf and Frenzy's battle souls weren't among the 10 strongest battle souls. Secondly, they had never been seen in the world before. How could it be so powerful? One deprived one's cultivation, battle soul, and power of law. One had a large range of petrification that was impossible to guard against and unavoidable. These were all in the category of super killing moves. The white-eyed wolf waved his claws and glanced at the fire dragon not far away. He bared his teeth and said, hurry up and deal with business. There's still a reckless fellow that hasn't been dealt with. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang and Frenzy immediately looked at the fire dragon. The fire dragon's pupils constricted. The power of the eye of heaven was obvious to all. And now Frenzy had returned with 8 sovereign divine weapons. Even without the help of the Feng people, Qin Feiyang's side was enough to catch all the dragons in one fell swoop. Frenzy looked at Long Chan and laughed. Old friend, the fire dragon stopped old Qin from fusing with the eye of heaven. Is this your idea? What do you think? Long Chan smiled faintly. You're asking me? How would I know? Frenzy grinned. The power of law in his body was ready to move. Long Chan didn't show any signs of nervousness. He looked at the fire dragon and said indifferently, you planted the evil fruit, so you have to deal with it yourself. This sentence was enough to prove that the fire dragon's previous actions were not ordered by him. When the fire dragon heard this, His eyes trembled. Obviously, Longchan wouldn't help. He regretted it now. He knew that these two people and one wolf were difficult to deal with, so why did he take the initiative to provoke them? In fact, at that time, he thought that he would definitely be able to stop Qin Feiyang from fusing with the Eye of Heaven. After all, there was the help of the second princess of the dragons and the others. But he didn't expect that frenzy would appear halfway. Not only did his strength increase by leaps and bounds, but he also brought 8 sovereign divine weapons, directly shattering his wishful thinking. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and swept his blade-like gaze at the fire dragon. Others don't know about the grudge between you and me, but those who know us well are well aware of it. So let's not talk nonsense and start directly. The fire dragon's eyes sank. He looked at Longchan, then at the young man, and finally at the castle and the other sovereign divine weapons. Then he suddenly turned around and fled without looking back. What a joke. Even if he fought to the death to defeat Qin Feiyang, there was still frenzy and 15 sovereign divine weapons. Also, as a nemesis for so many years, he understood Qin Feiyang's personality and knew that Qin Feiyang was determined to kill him. So in the end, no matter what, the one who would die would definitely be him. Only a fool would accept a sure death situation. The blood mark between his eyebrows released a dazzling light. With the help of the blood mark, even if it was just teleportation, its speed would be comparable to that of a supreme-level auxiliary divine spell. However, it wasn't easy to wait for the fire dragon to take the initiative to appear. Would Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf let him escape so easily? Obviously not. Seal this sea area. Following Qin Feiyang's low shout, the ancient castle, Horsetail Whisk, Grim Reaper Sword, Flaming Phoenix Divine Jade, and Flaming Phoenix Sword immediately erupted with world-destroying divine might and swept in all directions. Seal the sea area? The second princess of the dragons was shocked. She looked at the black dragon mirror next to her and shouted, "Hurry up and leave." The eyes of the third prince and the others were also trembling. Once the sea area was sealed by Qin Feiyang's sovereign divine weapon, they would be like turtles in a jar and wouldn't be able to escape. Once the fire dragon was dealt with, they would be the next. Clang! The black dragon mirror and the other divine weapons of the 8 sovereigns quickly came to life. They took the princes, princesses, and their followers and fled for their lives. Escape? The mad scientist frowned. Don't worry about them for now. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The second princess of the dragons and the others weren't comparable to the fire dragon. Although the fire dragon was powerful and had the blood mark, he didn't have a sovereign divine weapon. And the second princess of the dragons and the others all had a sovereign divine weapon. It wouldn't be easy to kill them, and there was also the unfathomable Longchan. Not to mention his identity as the son of the ice dragon, Qin Feiyang was quite wary of his evolved domain of divinity. More importantly, if an all-out war really broke out, with so many sovereign divine weapons, it would be a devastating disaster for the Sky Cloud Ocean. In addition, if he fought with the dragons and the others, the fire dragon might take advantage of the chaos to escape. If he had to choose between the fire dragon and the second princess of the dragons, he would definitely choose to kill the fire dragon without hesitation. Because this wasn't just a personal grudge, it was also a request from the fire python. So, he didn't care about anything else, but this big problem had to be dealt with today. The 5 sovereign divine weapons crossed the void and appeared thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. Their divine power was vast and mighty as they directly sealed off the sea area. Under the lead of the sovereign divine weapons, the second princess of the dragons and the others escaped the sealed area. But no matter how fast the fire dragon was, could he be faster than the sovereign divine weapons? As for Longchan and the youth, they were still sitting on the side. One was drinking tea and the other was drinking wine. They didn't care at all. Do you really want to force me? The fire dragon looked at the sealed area and turned to glare at Qin Feiyang. You and I are destined to fight. What else is there to say? Qin Feiyang took a step forward and walked toward the fire dragon step by step. His blood-stained hair fluttered in the wind, like a god-demon descending to the world. Okay. The fire dragon's expression immediately turned malevolent. A terrifying dragon's might erupted from it. However, it wasn't directed at Qin Feiyang. Instead, it was directed at the surrounding crowd. These people didn't have sovereign divine weapons and knew that Qin Feiyang wouldn't hurt them, so they didn't escape. At this moment, seeing the fire dragon coming toward them, their faces changed color. This bastard is crazy. Qin Feiyong is right in front of you. Why didn't you go to Qin Feiyong and come to us instead? Bullying the weak, is there a sense of accomplishment? No matter how strong you become, you're still the same. Qin Feiyong's eyes were filled with disgust. Back at the divine site, the fire dragon used the fire python's father as a scapegoat to escape from him. It was also because of this that the fire python's father died. Today he was going to use these innocent people to threaten him. How could he be worthy of being a divine beast? As a divine dragon, did he not have any sense of shame? Qin Feiyong shouted, "Ancient castle, move everyone!" Boom! The 5 sovereigns' divine weapons surged toward the crowd with overwhelming might. In the blink of an eye, everyone who was watching the battle appeared outside the barrier. This included Elder Hua, He Zhongtian, the Alliance Master, and Princess Huafeng. The Fire Phoenix Saber and the Divine Phoenix Spear had also returned to Pyrotechnic Glow's side. After all, their help was no longer needed. Moreover, they had to protect Pyrotechnic Glow and the others against any sudden attacks from Bing Runing and the other 3. Chapter 3585. Damn it! Looking at the empty sea around it, the fire dragon was flustered and exasperated. Don't do such pointless things again. Your only choice now is to do your best to defeat me. Qin Feiyong stepped into the sky with an imposing aura. Although he had been severely injured when fighting with the first prince of the dragons, he had taken the divine life pill immediately. Coupled with the healing power of the fire of life and bloodline power, his injuries were basically healed. Hearing this, the fire dragon turned around and stared at Qin Feiyong gloomily. If I defeat you, will you let me go? Of course, as long as you have the ability. Qin Feiyong nodded. Okay, then come at me. The fire dragon suddenly roared, and its body instantly expanded to more than 10,000 feet. It was like a majestic mountain range, and its dragon might filled the sky. Boom! A huge tail smashed the sky and slapped toward Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong punched out, and the power in his body surged out. In an instant, the fist and the huge tail collided, but it was Qin Feiyong who was sent flying. No way! The white-eyed wolf was stunned. What do you mean no way? Don't forget, he has activated the power of the blood mark. Whether it's physical body, speed, or power, he is no weaker than old Qin. The madman pouted. Huh! You seem to know that we have broken the limits of our physical bodies. The white-eyed wolf looked at the madman in surprise. Nonsense, I came to White Crane Island before you. It's just that you didn't notice. The madman rolled his eyes. Came before us? The white-eyed wolf was slightly taken aback and asked suspiciously, Then why did you hide in the sky without saying a word? I wanted to give you a surprise. The madman bared his teeth. Surprise? The white-eyed wolf was speechless. Bringing 8 Dominator divine weapons at once? Was the shock not enough? Although you've broken through the limits of your physical body, I'm telling you, don't underestimate this emperor. This emperor's strength is not something a small character like the first prince of the dragons can compare to. The fire dragon laughed wildly. With a flash, he disappeared before Qin Feiyong's eyes. His speed was so fast that it was almost impossible for the naked eye to catch him. The next moment, Qin Feiyong felt a great sense of crisis coming from behind him. Needless to say, the fire dragon was definitely behind him. Boom! Without any hesitation, he turned around and threw a punch, which collided with the fire dragon's dragon claw. The fire dragon's strength was truly terrifying. Qin Feiyong was once again sent flying, blood gushing out. I didn't expect the fire dragon to be so strong. Yeah, this is simply unexpected. The surrounding crowd was shocked beyond words. Qin Feiyong's physical body was comparable to a supreme-level heaven-defying divine weapon, but he couldn't defeat the fire dragon. Could it be that the fire dragon's physical body had broken through the next limit? Wait, was there a limit above the supreme-level heaven-defying divine weapon? No. Look at the blood word mark between his eyebrows. His strength should be related to the blood word mark. Everyone was discussing. The battle between Qin Feiyong and the fire dragon became more and more intense. After repeated tests, Qin Feiyong discovered that the fire dragon's physical body and strength were indeed above his. The blood-word mark was indeed terrifying. In fact, the fire dragon's strength had always been weak. Just like the battle in the Nether King's Hell. If it wasn't for the blood-word mark, the fire dragon wouldn't have been able to fight against him. However, the current him was no longer the same as before. Boom! The cause and effect law and the destruction law were both activated. It was as if two gods and demons had appeared in the world. Accompanied by a scream, the fire dragon's huge body was sent flying. Its dragon scales were shattered and its body was covered in blood. Dragon blood dyed the sky red. His physical body and strength are indeed inferior, but in terms of the profound laws, Old Qin has the absolute advantage. Frenzy laughed. It shouldn't be that simple. The white-eyed wolf shook his head. What do you mean? Frenzy was taken aback and looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf said, I don't know, but I have a feeling that the power of the blood-word mark hasn't really erupted yet. When did you start to believe in intuition? Frenzy was speechless. Wasn't it Old Qin's specialty to believe in intuition? Sometimes you have to believe in intuition. The white-eyed wolf whispered. You're really infuriating. The fire dragon roared and activated the destruction law's profound laws. A huge hand covered the sky and slammed toward Qin Feiyang's two profound laws. Qin Feiyang looked at the destruction god, and his gaze suddenly trembled. He looked at the center of the destruction god's eyebrows and discovered that there was also a blood character imprint. No way! Frenzy also noticed this scene and his face was full of shock. It seems that my intuition has really appeared. The white-eyed wolf muttered. But this was too unbelievable. The blood-word mark could actually be added to the profound laws? The profound laws were already very powerful. With the addition of the blood-word mark, wouldn't it be invincible? As expected. Along with a loud explosion, Qin Feiyang's two great ultimates were shattered in the void, and he spat out a mouthful of old blood. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang's eyes were also filled with disbelief. With the addition of the blood-word mark, the destruction god's lethality had far surpassed the profound laws. This is the strength of this emperor. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Wrong. I'm afraid of your sovereign divine weapon. As long as you don't use your sovereign divine weapon, I can kill you as easily as stepping on an ant. The fire dragon laughed maniacally. The destruction god stomped toward Qin Feiyang. The terrifying power caused the void to collapse and turn into chaos. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. He used the space-time step and retreated like lightning. But the fire dragon seemed to have expected Qin Feiyang to do this. With a flash, he appeared above Qin Feiyang and smashed his tail down. Dong! Qin Feiyang's entire body fell into the sea below like a blood-stained meteor, causing huge waves. So powerful? Old Qin is completely at a disadvantage. The mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. If this situation continued, Qin Feiyang would really have to activate his slaughter domain or use his sovereign divine weapon to fight. So the real enemy is him. Elder Hua and the others finally understood. Compared to the first prince of the dragon clan, this fire dragon was much stronger. In the past, people like Elder Hua had heard a lot about the fire dragon from Qin Feiyang and the others. But in their opinion, no matter how strong the fire dragon was, he couldn't be Qin Feiyang's match. They didn't expect him to be this strong. This was the first time they had seen the fire dragon in action. They were deeply shocked by the fire dragon's strength. Without the slaughter domain or the sovereign divine weapon, what are you? You're nothing. The fire dragon looked down at the sea below and laughed. What are you if you don't have the blood-word mark? The mad scientist said unhappily. That's right. Before the battle, we didn't say that we weren't allowed to activate the slaughter domain, or use the sovereign divine weapon. But now, little Qin Zi has voluntarily given up on these methods. Instead of thanking him, you're still so arrogant. May I ask who gave you the courage? How can you be so thick-skinned? The white-eyed wolf also had a look of disdain. What a joke. Did I say not to activate the slaughter domain? He was the one who was arrogant and didn't want to activate the slaughter domain. Now he's mocking me? Who's the thick-skinned one here? The fire dragon sneered. The white-eyed wolf's mouth twitched. He shook his head and said, I'm ashamed of my inferiority to your shamelessness. I'm also very impressed. The mad scientist was also speechless. After being in the martial world for so many years, what kind of person hadn't he seen? But no one could compare to the fire dragon's shamelessness. Splash! A huge wave rose and Qin Feiyang broke through it. A cold light flashed in the fire dragon's eyes. The destruction god, who was standing in the sky above the sea, immediately slapped out. Very strong indeed. But that's all. Qin Feiyang said indifferently and activated his 3,000 incarnations. He finally activated the 3,000 incarnations. It seems that the fire dragon is indeed much stronger than the first prince. The demon hall master muttered. Of course. With the fire dragon's strength he can instantly kill us, Chu Yun said with a serious expression. Chu Yun said with a serious expression. This was the first time she had seen such a terrifying existence. It's been a long time. The fire dragon scanned the 3,000 incarnations, and scenes of the past appeared in his mind. But then, his eyes were filled with disdain as he roared. 3,000 incarnations are useless. You dare to look down on us? Beat it. The 3,000 incarnations were furious and activated their two supreme profound meanings. 1,000 of them charged toward the destruction god. The other 2,000 charged toward the fire dragon. Fuck. These are the 3,000 incarnations that the first prince of the dragons has been talking about. What the hell is this? They actually have independent consciousness and can activate their supreme profound meanings. Hua Zihui was dumbfounded when he saw this. No wonder it was called Qin Feiyang's strongest trump card. Just think about it. A single Qin Feiyang was already so terrifying, let alone 3,000 Qin Feiyangs. They were simply existences akin to gods and devils. Rumble. The 1,000 incarnations charging toward the destruction god were like moths to a flame, constantly shattering and disappearing. But the 2,000 incarnations charging toward the fire dragon were unstoppable. In the blink of an eye, the fire dragon was covered in blood. Not a single part of his body was intact. Roar, accompanied by a painful howl. His two dragon claws shattered, and his dragon tail was torn apart by dozens of incarnations. Several bloody holes appeared on his huge body, and dragon blood spurted out like a waterfall. Do you still dare to look down on us? You really don't know what's good for you. Brothers, tear it into pieces. Later, let me stew it in oil and stir. Fry it to go with wine. The 2,000 incarnations charged forward like a pack of hungry wolves, using all kinds of supreme profound meanings and heaven-defying techniques. Facing such a situation, even if the fire dragon had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to handle it. The outcome would be so miserable that no one could bear to look at it. Chapter 3586. Damn, he's too strong. Sister, work harder and make him my brother-in-law. Pyrotechnic Glow clenched his fists, his eyes filled with admiration. Obviously, Qin Feiyang had successfully gained another little fan. Stop talking nonsense. Princess Huafeng's veins popped out on her forehead when she heard this. How old are you? Why are you still so frivolous every day? It's true. I like him a lot. If I were a woman, I would definitely marry him. Pyrotechnic Glow chuckled. Princess Huafeng couldn't help but give this boastful brother a knock on his head. She then raised her head and looked at the battlefield. Needless to say, this human man really has a fascinating charm. 3,000 incarnations crazily attacked the fire dragon. Qin Feiyang himself was like an outsider. After taking a divine life pill, he stood on the sea and watched the show. You've gone too far, die all of you. Forbidden art. Heaven's annihilation. Hualong roared furiously. The blood character mark on its forehead actually separated and erupted with a wave of fire that could burn the heavens and destroy the world. The 2,000 clones didn't even have time to cry out before they were annihilated. Not only that, even the sky and void were melting. Forbidden technique. The madman and the white-eyed wolf's eyes trembled, because at this moment even they felt a strand of lethal danger. The young man's eyes flashed slightly and whispered, "This forbidden technique is a super forbidden technique. Qin Feiyang isn't its opponent." What? The snow python was shocked. If even the young man said so, one could imagine how terrifying this forbidden technique was. Qin Feiyang, even if you activate the slaughter zone, it's too late. Go to hell. The fire dragon laughed sinisterly. The waves of fire formed by the blood-written imprint suddenly turned into a torrent, rolling towards Qin Feiyang. On the battlefield, Qin Feiyang could clearly feel just how terrifying this wave of fire was. The young man wasn't exaggerating at all. This taboo technique was more than enough to instantly kill him. He never expected that the fire dragon would have such a terrifying trump card hidden up his sleeve. The heavens had fallen. This was an attempt to annihilate everything in the world. However, although he was facing a fatal crisis, Qin Feiyang did not panic at all. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Finally, it stopped at the Eye of Heaven. Since it was a forbidden technique, the Eye of Heaven should be able to replicate it. Without hesitation, the purple gold dragon soul roared and activated the Eye of Heaven. You want to replicate a forbidden technique? The fire dragon laughed without restraint. Copy. Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to him. With a loud roar, the intertwining black and white divine light surged toward the wave of fire like a tide. The next moment, above the purple gold dragon soul, a wave of fire appeared, exuding the power of destruction. What? The fire dragon's laughter stopped abruptly, and his eyes almost popped out. Looks like you don't know much about the Eye of Heaven. Apart from divine artifacts and the like, it can replicate all kinds of attacks. Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold. With a wave of his hand, the wave of fire surged out and rushed toward the wave of fire above. In fact, he was also quite surprised. Because the Eye of Heaven had evolved, he didn't know the details. In other words, he didn't know whether it could be replicated or not. But fortunately, the Eye of Heaven was still as heaven-defying as before. The two forbidden techniques collided with a loud bang. Heaven and earth roared, and the sky collapsed as if it was the end of the world. Impossible. No matter how heaven-defying the Eye of Heaven is, there should be a limit. This is a forbidden technique. It's known as the strongest forbidden technique. How can it be replicated? Looking at this scene, Fire Dragon seemed to have gone mad. As the two taboo techniques were destroyed, Qin Feiyang raised his head to look at Huolong's glabella. To his surprise, he discovered that the blood character mark on Huolong's glabella no longer existed. In other words, this taboo technique consumes the entire blood imprint as the price? No wonder the fire dragon hadn't activated this forbidden technique before. It turned out that as long as this forbidden technique was activated, the blood mark would completely disappear. Once the blood mark disappeared, it would lose the power of the mark and become an ordinary divine dragon. The outcome has been decided. Longchan shook his head and smiled. Although the forbidden technique was powerful, the Eye of Heaven was even more heaven-defying. If the fire dragon had challenged Qin Feiyang before the first prince, then Qin Feiyang would have died without a doubt. Because if the Eye of Heaven hadn't evolved, Qin Feiyang wouldn't be able to block this forbidden technique without activating the slaughter domain, or using the sovereign divine weapon. Unfortunately, the fire dragon chose to fight after the evolution of the Eye of Heaven. However, this Eye of Heaven was indeed ridiculously strong. It was fine if it could copy a supreme profound, but it could also copy a super forbidden technique. The present Qin Feiyang was already in an invincible position in the Sky Cloud realm, as long as the super powerhouses of the 4 forbidden zones did not come out. Let's end our feud here. Qin Feiyang took a step forward. 2 great profound meanings appeared, and he charged into the sky. You want to end it? Impossible. This emperor hasn't lost yet, and I won't lose. The fire dragon roared hysterically. The law of lightning and the law of destruction surged out, attacking Qin Feiyang's 2 supreme profundities. But was it useful? How could the thunder laws compare to the supreme law? With a loud bang, the 2 supreme profound shattered. Without the support of the blood mark, they seemed vulnerable. Following closely, the 2 supreme profound karma laws and destruction laws fiercely bombarded the fire dragon's body. Roar, with a painful howl, the fire dragon's huge body was torn apart. Don't kill me. The fire dragon's soul suddenly left its body, and its divine soul hurriedly begged in the void. No matter how arrogant a person was, they were afraid of death. The fire dragon was no exception. In the face of death, it didn't hesitate to put down its so-called self-esteem. But it never thought that with the grudges it had accumulated with Qin Feiyang over the years, would Qin Feiyang let it go? Throughout the whole process, Qin Feiyang didn't show the slightest bit of sympathy or pity. The big hand burst out, and the power of 6 laws intertwined, exuding an aura that could destroy heaven and earth, and slap the fire dragon's divine soul. No, I beg you, however, he just opened his mouth when Qin Feiyong's palm descended, and Hualong's soul was instantly obliterated in space. Only a miserable cry of despair remained, and it reverberated in the heavens and the earth for a long time. Damn, this guy is too strong now, the white-eyed wolf muttered. He is strong. Madman nodded and laughed. But I'm not bad either. If we really fight, you're not his opponent, okay? The white-eyed wolf rolled its eyes at Madman, then pondered for a while and laughed. But when this brother breaks through to the perfection sovereign realm, then the two of us can join forces and kill him. Who's joining forces with you? So low class. Madman rolled his eyes. Look at how arrogant you are. If this brother breaks through to the perfection sovereign realm, I'll directly crush you and little Qin Zi. The two of you are just small fries. The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. Madman's face turned black, too lazy to bicker with it. He looked at Long Chan, who was sitting there. Even if the fire dragon died in the hands of Qin Feiyong, Long Chan didn't show any regret or anger. This isn't right. He's too calm. Could it be, suddenly? Madman's eyes trembled as he landed in front of Qin Feiyong and asked, could it be that the fire dragon also left his divine soul in the dragon nest? Qin Feiyong was slightly taken aback as he turned to look at Madman. Then the two of them looked at Long Chan. No need to doubt. If he really left his divine soul in the dragon nest, he wouldn't be fighting with you guys like this. Long Chan smiled faintly. Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other. Long Chan wouldn't lie to them. Moreover, for Long Chan, the fire dragon was just a small character. After all, the two sovereigns were even willing to give the ice dragon sacred sword and celestial dragon god sword to the blood hall. In other words, he had the capital to be willful. Who told him to have such a powerful father? Outside, the second princess of the dragons looked at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf in horror, then looked at the third prince and the others and said in a deep voice, we can't stay outside any longer. Return to the dragon nest immediately. Yes. The other princes and princesses also nodded. The current Qin Feiyong was too strong, especially Madman. This was especially true for Madman. 8 sovereign divine weapons were enough to make any force tremble in fear. If they continued to stay outside, they would be digging their own graves. Decisive. The group of princes and princesses let their respective sovereign divine weapons take them and their followers and disappeared at the end of the sea without looking back. Seeing this, Bing Runing and the others didn't dare to stay for a moment and ran away with their tails between their legs. Even the little princess of the dragons didn't stay, because she also knew that the moment the first prince of the dragons died, her cooperation with Qin Feiyong had already ended. If she didn't leave, Qin Feiyong and the others would definitely not show mercy to her. Damn, they ran so fast? Madman was planning to deal with these people, but he didn't expect them to disappear without a trace in the blink of an eye. They're not stupid. I'm guessing that he already had the intention to retreat the moment you appeared. The reason they waited until now is purely to see if the fire dragon has the ability to kill me. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed, but he didn't chase after them. Because the sovereign divine weapons took them away, it was impossible to catch up. This time he was already very satisfied to obtain the Eye of Heaven and kill his mortal enemy, the fire dragon. Long Chan saw everything and put down his teacup. He stood up and looked at Qin Feiyong with a smile. Brother Qin, thank you for letting me enjoy such a wonderful performance today. You're not going to fight with us? Madman looked at Long Chen in surprise. Long Chen laughed. The future is long. There will be a chance in the future. But what if I don't let you go? Madman chuckled. Long Chen laughed and said indifferently, that depends on whether you can make me stay or not. Madman narrowed his eyes and the aura of the power of laws spread out from his body. What's going on? Aren't they old friends? But why does it look like they're going to go all out? The onlookers who were watching from the outside all revealed looks of bewilderment. Chapter 3587. For a time the atmosphere here became solemn. In fact, everyone didn't know that the reason why Qin Feiyong and Madman treated Long Chan as an old friend was because they felt that this person was not bad. Compared to the other dragons, Long Chen's character was indeed worthy of respect. For example, in the ancient world, humans were like ants in the eyes of the dragons. Only Longchan respected humans. He even scolded Longzun because of this. For humans to respect dragons, the dragons must first respect humans. To rule a region, one didn't rely on force but kindness and kindness. But at that time, not only did Longzun not listen, he even scolded him, saying that being soft-hearted would make it difficult for one to achieve great things. To be honest, if Longzun listened to Longchan at that time, perhaps the dragons of the ancient world wouldn't have been exterminated that year. Because Longzun and Longchen's philosophy and character were incompatible, they had once doubted whether Longchan was Longzun's biological son. Therefore, although they were opponents whether it was back then or now, Qin Feiyong and the others had always had a good impression of Longchan. The tense atmosphere caused the scene to fall into a dead silence. Boom! Splash! Suddenly, the sea below erupted with a powerful aura, and the waves rose thousands of feet high. Qin Feiyong and the others were startled and hurriedly looked down at the sea below. This is the aura of the law of death. Madman scanned the sea, his face full of doubts. What's going on? Why would the aura of the law of death suddenly erupt from the sea? The aura of the law became more and more terrifying, and the aura of death shrouded all directions. Gradually, in addition to the aura of the law, there was also a dragon aura that erupted. This is... Qin Feiyong, Madman, and White-Eyed Wolf looked at each other. They couldn't be more familiar with this aura. It was the crown prince of the dragons. This person didn't die? Boom! Suddenly, above the sea, a dark red waning moon slowly rose, and the world here instantly turned dark red, like azure purgatory. This is paramount profundity of the law of death, dusk of the gods. Qin Feiyong and the others felt their hearts tremble. Not only did the first prince of the dragons not die, but he had also comprehended the ultimate profundity of the law of death. Crash. Very soon. Amidst the surging waves, an aged figure slowly emerged. Who else could it be but the first prince of the dragons? Because he had consumed too much of his life force to activate the golden dragon domain, he looked extremely old. His eyes were closed and his breathing was even, as if he was in a deep sleep. I didn't expect it, I really didn't expect it. Madman shook his head. A person who was bound to die actually managed to comprehend a supreme Tao at the crucial moment. Not only did he save his life, but his strength also soared. Ding! With a deafening dragon roar, the first prince of the dragon clan revealed his true form. It was a 5-clawed golden dragon that was thousands of feet long. The essence chi of this sea rushed into his body like a tide, and the life force he had consumed was quickly restored. Right at this moment, Longchan waved his hand and thousands of divine life pills appeared. They were all in the shape of 10 dragons, and they turned into a majestic life force that surged into the first prince's body. In an instant, the first prince of the dragons recovered more than half of his life force. Suddenly, the white-eyed wolf's eyes turned cold as he looked at Madman and Qin Feiyong, and said with a bone-piercing killing intent, "We have to remove the roots when cutting the grass." Kill him. The Madman and Qin Feiyong looked at each other with killing intent in their eyes. Shua! But suddenly, Longchan stepped in front of the two. What are you doing? Madman raised his eyebrows. Longchan smiled faintly and looked at Qin Feiyong. Give me face and let him go this time. Qin Feiyong was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect that Longchan would put down his status and beg for mercy for the first prince of the dragons. Give you face. On what basis? Madman sneered. Longchan looked at Madman and smiled. Back then I saved Brother Qin and the white-eyed wolf in the heavy domain. This should be considered a favor. So now you want to use this favor to save his life. The white-eyed wolf frowned. Longchan nodded. The white-eyed wolf said, you have to think about it. A favor from us is very hard to come by. I've already thought about it. Longchan smiled faintly. The white-eyed wolf frowned and turned to look at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while and looked up at Longchan. He nodded and said, it's good that we don't owe each other anything. We'll do as you say. Thank you. Longchan cupped his hands and thanked him. He stepped in front of the first prince of the dragons and opened his god's domain. A space-time crack also appeared. Immediately after, He took the first prince of the dragons and disappeared from the sight of Qin Feiyang and the others without looking back. What the hell is this? Madman was dumbfounded. One has to know that after the castle and the other sovereign weapons sealed this area, they couldn't open a transmission channel. However, Long Chen could ignore this rule. God's domain. Qin Feiyang said. God's domain? Madman was stunned. Of course he knew about God's domain. This was Long Chen's talent. But was God's domain so heaven-defying? The current God's domain is no longer what it used to be. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. It's no longer what it used to be? Madman frowned and asked, it has evolved. Yes. This God's domain is heaven-defying now. It can even ignore the rules of the forbidden area. Qin Feiyang nodded. So powerful? Madman was stunned. As expected of their old rival. To be honest, I don't have the confidence to keep him here. After all, who knows how many tricks he has hidden? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. How could the son of the ice dragon have an undeserved reputation? Madman was speechless. In fact, he didn't really want to fight with Long Chen. He just wanted to show his attitude. No matter whose son you are, if you annoy me, I'll deal with you. Qin Feiyang turned to the youth and asked curiously, Little brother, where have you been fooling around all these years? Cough cough. The youth coughed and said speechlessly, What do you mean fooling around? Do you think I'm one of those good-for-nothing playboys? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Of course you're different from those playboys. How about it, why don't you stay in the Black Tortoise world? We can take care of each other. Forget it. You've been having trouble every day. I don't want to follow you and be tired every day. Isn't it nice to be alone? The youth pouted. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Was it really okay to be so direct? All right, take care. As the youth's voice fell, the snow python soared into the sky and became several hundred feet long. The youth took a step forward and landed on the snow python's back. Suddenly, the youth thought of something and looked down at Qin Feiyang. You haven't been to the northern continent yet, right? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head and asked suspiciously, Why do you ask? Go and take a look when you have time. After the young man said that, the man and the python quickly disappeared without a trace. What do you mean? The madman and the ingrate retracted their gazes and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. How would I know? Qin Feiyang shrugged and said, Since he wants us to go to the northern continent, there should be a reason. Let's take a look when you have time. Madman and White-Eyed Wolf nodded. Although they didn't know where this youth came from their previous contact, it was unlikely that he would harm them. The battle finally came to an end. The ancient castle, the horsetail whisk, and the Grim Reaper's sword flew through the air. The ancient castle directly entered the Black Tortoise realm, while the horsetail whisk and the Grim Reaper's sword disappeared into Qin Feiyang's body. The Fire Phoenix sword and Fire Phoenix Divine Jade also returned to Princess Huafeng's side. Idol, you are so awesome. Do you still need a little follower? Wash clothes, cook, serve tea, I can do everything. I can even warm your bed. As long as you don't mind that I'm a man. After the sovereign divine weapons were unlocked, the onlookers immediately swarmed forward. They surrounded Qin Feiyang so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Looking at these unfamiliar faces in front of him, Qin Feiyang was very moved. Because these people had always supported him. Even when facing giants like the dragons and the foam people, they didn't hesitate and chose to stand by his side. But what bed warming! He really didn't like it. Brother Qin, are those two groups of people really the dragons and the foam people? Someone asked curiously. Yes. Haven't you always wanted to know what the core area of the Demon Land and the Heavy Domain Land is? Now I'll tell you. The dragons and the foam people live in the core area of these two forbidden areas. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. So that's how it is. I really didn't expect that there were two such terrifying forces, hidden in our sky cloud realm. Brother Qin, are you and them mortal enemies? Also, why do you have the purple gold divine dragon's bloodline power? Are you also one of the dragons? Everyone was like curious babies, asking all kinds of questions at once. When facing the dragons and the others, Qin Feiyang wasn't nervous at all, but now looking at these enthusiastic people, he couldn't help but panic. Ahem. Quiet down. Qin Feiyang just went through a big battle, let him have a good rest first. Princess Huafeng came over with pyrotechnic glow, and the others to help Qin Feiyang. Princess Huafeng didn't speak, but now that she did, some people immediately surrounded her. Miss, I just heard that you are also one of the Feng people. Since you are also one of the Feng people, why do you help Qin Feiyang when Bing Runing wants to kill Qin Feiyang? Also, I overheard your brother saying something about brother-in-law. Are you and Qin Feiyang a couple? A couple? Qin Feiyang and the woman of the Feng people are in love. Amazing, you can even get a divine beast like the phoenix. You are really making us humans proud. Hearing this, everyone started gossiping. First, Princess Fire Phoenix finally realized what it meant to be feared by gossip. Originally, there was no such thing at all, but now that people said it, it was as if it was true. Thank you for your trust and support. I have something to do, so I will leave first. Seeing that the situation was getting more and more chaotic, Qin Feiyang hurriedly left and used the space-time step to escape with the frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf without looking back. This kind of enthusiasm was really a bit overwhelming. Seeing this, Princess Huafeng also immediately led pyrotechnic glow and the others to chase after Qin Feiyang and the others. Chapter 3588. I didn't expect them to be so popular now. In the distant void, Elder Hua and the other two could not help but smile when they saw this scene. Of course, after all, they have done many good deeds in the Eastern continent all these years. Most importantly, no matter how big the commotion is, they have never implicated any innocent living beings. The Alliance Master, Hall Master, and Shunmeng walked over and chuckled softly. Elder Hua and the other two were stunned. They turned to look at the three humans and two beasts. Seeing that the Vice Alliance Master and Hall of Famers were glowing, Elder Hua could not help but tease, Old Chi, what good things have happened to you too? Why are you so happy? Aren't you asking the obvious? The Vice Alliance Master rolled his eyes at him. Elder Hua could not help but laugh. Our disciples are so outstanding. It's indeed worth being happy about. It's a pity that no one knows about it. Because they had no choice but to put on an act back then, everyone thought that they had fallen out with Qin Feiyang and the others. Naturally, no one would associate it with them. It doesn't matter if others know about it, as long as we know it in our hearts. The Hall of Famers smiled faintly. That's true. Elder Hua nodded. The Shunmeng couple asked, now that the dragons have returned to their nest, the threat to us has disappeared. Can we stop worrying about it? No. Although the dragons have returned to their nest temporarily, as long as they are still there, the danger will not be resolved. Elder Hua immediately thought to himself. That's right. The dragons are afraid of those brats now, but they are not afraid of us. With the dragon's strength, it will be easy for them to destroy the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Demonic Hall. If the dragons find out that we have been putting on an act in front of them, it will be a disaster for us. Although I don't know where Little Lunatic found so many sovereign divine weapons, they can't stay in the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance to protect us forever. So now we have to be more cautious than before. We can't let the dragons get hold of our weakness, lest we implicate them. The Vice Alliance Master said telepathically. Old Chi is right. It doesn't matter if you can't help. What I'm most afraid of is making things worse. The Hall of Famers nodded. The Demon Hall's Hall Master smiled to himself and said, let's go back. Don't think too much. Let's just live our leisurely days in peace. They exchanged glances and smiled. Then, each of them opened a space-time tunnel and left. In the distance, He Zhongtian's eyes flashed. He also activated a space-time teleportation divine artifact and left without looking back. On the other side of the sea, 2 men and 1 woman stood side by side. All 3 of them were middle-aged and emitted powerful auras. They were the 3 big shots of the North Continent's Heaven Palace. The middle-aged woman retracted her gaze and looked at the 2 middle-aged men beside her. She asked, what do you think of this matter? What does this have to do with us? The Eastern Continent, the Western Continent, and the Southern Continent have been messed up by Qin Feiyang all these years. Only our Northern Continent is still relatively peaceful. Let's keep it that way. That's right. We can't afford to offend the dragons and the Feng people. We can't afford to offend people like Qin Feiyang and the madman. Since we have a chance to stay out of trouble, we must not take the initiative to provoke them. The two middle-aged men said. The middle-aged couple thought for a moment and nodded with a smile. All right, let's go back. After the three giants left, the people gathered in the sky above the sea also left one after another with high spirits. At the same time, in the sky above an island in the distance, Qin Feiyong and the others stopped and turned around to look behind. They all had lingering fear. Princess Huafeng let out a long breath and turned to look at Qin Feiyong and White-Eyed Wolf. I didn't expect you to be so popular in the Sky Cloud realm. Daifuku and Xiaofu also looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. They thought that people like Qin Feiyong and White-Eyed Wolf would definitely be infamous. Who would have thought that all they saw was respect and love? Of course, we have done a lot of good things in the Sky Cloud realm. White-Eyed Wolf smiled proudly. Good things? Princess Huafeng didn't think so. Maybe. The madman looked at them and whispered, Old Qin, why don't you introduce us? There's nothing to introduce. Qin Feiyong shook his head. What do you mean there's nothing to introduce? I am the princess of the Fire Phoenix clan. Is it shameful for you to follow me? Princess Huafeng raised her eyebrows. Ahem. Qin Feiyong coughed to hide the embarrassment on his face. He looked at the madman and said, She is the princess of the Feng people, and this pyrotechnic glow is her oviparous brother. One of them is called Daifuku, and the other is called Xiaofu. As for them, Qin Feiyong looked at the two middle-aged women standing behind Pyrotechnic Glow and shook his head. I don't know who they are. Pyrotechnic Glow quickly smiled and said, Brother-in-law, they are Aunt May and Aunt Lon. They watched me grow up. What the hell? Qin Feiyong's expression froze. Brother-in-law? White-Eyed Wolf and the madman also looked at each other. Is there something wrong with this kid's brain? Princess Huafeng, the Daifuku brothers, and Aunt May also looked extremely embarrassed. Aunt May stared at Pyrotechnic Glow, then looked at Qin Feiyong and the madman. She said apologetically, Little brothers, I'm sorry. Zihui likes to joke. Please forgive him. Pyrotechnic Glow hurriedly said, Aunt May, I'm not joking. He is my brother-in-law. Pyrotechnic Glow, are you done? Princess Huafeng shouted. Pyrotechnic Glow suddenly shrank his neck. Qin Feiyong looked at this scene and couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Then he pointed at White-Eyed Wolf and looked at Pyrotechnic Glow. Your brother-in-law is him, not me. Everyone was stunned again. White-Eyed Wolf was also stunned. Then the veins on his forehead bulged. He shouted, Are you crazy? Why did you drag me into this? I don't want this unreasonable woman even if you give her to me. What did you say? I'm unreasonable? Princess Huafeng immediately stared at White-Eyed Wolf angrily. Yes. Is there a second first princess here? White-Eyed Wolf looked at her with disdain. Then why don't you tell me how I'm being unreasonable? If you don't make it clear, I won't let you off today. Princess Huafeng's face darkened. She gritted her teeth and looked so fierce that she wanted to skin White-Eyed Wolf alive. Okay, let me have a good talk with you. How did we treat you in the land of heavy regions? Although there was a little friction, we were always very polite to you. We even saved you from being ruining. But what about you? How did you repay us? You actually set little Yun up behind our backs and made us search desperately for him outside. Ask your conscience, aren't you wicked? White-Eyed Wolf sneered. Little Yun. Princess Huafeng was stunned. It's Yun Zhongtian. White-Eyed Wolf waved his claws impatiently. Princess Huafeng's mouth twitched when she heard that. An old man in his 70s or 80s actually called someone Little Yun. Didn't he feel uncomfortable? Say something. I want to see how you can quibble today. White-Eyed Wolf looked at her mockingly. Princess Huafeng glared at White-Eyed Wolf angrily. He really did not give her any face. Old Qin, what's the situation? Frenzy looked at the White-Eyed Wolf and eldest princess who were quarreling endlessly with a stunned expression. Qin Feiyong said to himself, You can't blame me. It was White-Eyed Wolf himself who said that he wanted to try and get along with this woman. Is that so? Frenzy suddenly seemed to have discovered a new continent as he chuckled. Brother Wolf is finally enlightened. I am relieved. I am also quite happy. And the princess of the Fire Phoenix clan is also worthy of White-Eyed Wolf. Qin Feiyong chuckled. Yes. Frenzy nodded. When White-Eyed Wolf and eldest princess quarreled, they really looked like a pair of quarrelsome lovers. Daifuku Xiaofu, what's the situation? Isn't brother-in-law Qin Feiyang? Pyrotechnic Glow was also dumbfounded. Your Highness, what are you doing all day? This is not a problem at all. Daifuku and Brother Wolf sighed helplessly. It's not Qin Feiyang but this wolf cub? No, absolutely not. Pyrotechnic Glow came back to his senses and rushed to Princess Huafeng's side. He glared at the white-eyed wolf and said, Wolf cub, don't dream of eating swan meat. Give up, I won't allow it. Daifuku and Brother Wolf looked at the sky and were speechless. Why was His Highness so worrisome? He always did what he wanted to do. I am a toad, she is a swan? White-eyed Wolf was also stunned. Where did this sense of superiority come from? Of course. Why don't you take a look at yourself? Do you think you are worthy of my sister? Pyrotechnic Glow looked disdainful. Okay. I admit defeat when I meet you siblings. White-eyed Wolf waved his paws, too lazy to talk nonsense. We're siblings? Wait. Today you have to tell me clearly. The person who said you is my brother. How did I provoke you? Princess Huafeng grabbed the white-eyed wolf's tail and said angrily, Are you done? White-eyed Wolf raised his eyebrows. Interesting. Qin Feiyang and Madman not only didn't stop the fight, but also laughed. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang patted his head and turned to look at Madman. He asked suspiciously, Where did you get those 8 sovereign divine weapons? I don't have the ability. Someone lent them to me. Madman waved his hand. Who? Qin Feiyang was stunned. To be able to lend Madman 8 sovereign divine weapons at once, this was not something an ordinary person could do. The most important thing was this trust in Madman. Think about it, if it wasn't for absolute trust in Madman, who would dare to lend him so many sovereign divine weapons? Could it be Big Brother? It's not them. Madman shook his head and whispered in Qin Feiyang's ear. It's the 8 beast emperors. So it's them. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood. His face revealed a look of shock as he muttered, I didn't expect them to have a sovereign divine weapon each. Not to mention you, when I saw it I was also shocked. Madman smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and glanced at the surrounding sea. He sighed. It seems that this heavenly cloud sea isn't as simple as we think. Madman nodded. The heavenly cloud sea could definitely be called the 5th forbidden area of the sky cloud domain. Fortunately, the heavenly cloud sea was on their side. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 3589. What are they mumbling about? The Daifuku brothers and Aunt May had been paying attention to Qin Feiyang and Madman. I don't know. But now why should we follow them? Aunt May and Madman looked suspiciously at the Daifuku brothers. The matter was over. Shouldn't they return to the phoenix nest? Daifuku said. There is one more thing that needs the help of Qin Feiyang and the others. This matter is related to the future of the princess and the prince. Future? The more Aunt May and Madman heard, the more confused they became. How could the future of the 2 princes be related to Qin Feiyang and the others? Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and looked at the white-eyed wolf and the first princess who were still arguing. He was speechless. White-eyed wolf, you are a man, can't you let her have her way? There is something wrong with your words. Why should a man let a woman have her way? Besides, do you think she looks like a woman? The white-eyed wolf snorted. How do I not look like a woman? Princess Huafeng was about to explode from anger at the white-eyed wolf. Qin Feiyang and Madman smiled helplessly. With a wave of their hand, a group of people immediately appeared in the Black Tortoise world. Immediately, Princess Huafeng calmed down, her eyes filled with anticipation. This is that independent world? The Daifuku brothers also looked around curiously. Compared to the Daifuku brothers, Pyrotechnic Glow and Aunt May knew nothing about the Black Tortoise world. The surprise on their faces was even stronger. I mean what I say. Qin Feiyang looked at Princess Huafeng and smiled. He then looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, Take them to the cultivation room. The pills that Dan Wangkai refined are all inside. Why should I go? The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. Qin Feiyang said, I have something to discuss with senior brother. He was actually quite depressed in his heart. What a pig brain. Can't you see that I am creating an opportunity for you? But he didn't know that with his cultivation, he was really causing trouble for the white-eyed wolf. Back then, the white-eyed wolf was just joking. He didn't have much interest in the first princess of the Feng people. Hurry up and go, why are you talking so much nonsense? Madman urged. The ingrate glared at the two of them, then looked at Princess Huafeng and said, "Come with me." It was rare for Princess Huafeng to not be angry. She immediately pulled Huazihue and followed the ingrate into the castle. The Dafu brothers and Aunt Mei looked at each other and couldn't help but look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "You guys go too. The siblings need your help later." "Thank you." Daifuku cupped his hands and thanked him. Then he hurried in. "Is Brother Wolf serious this time? Why doesn't it look like it?" Madman scratched his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Don't you know it? If we don't help it, even if a sky immortal stands in front of it, it won't be moved." Qin Feiyang was helpless. "That's true." Madman nodded and smiled bitterly. "Let's go to the tea garden. I will tell you about our experience in the heavy region and let you know our current relationship with the Feng people." The two entered the tea garden and sat opposite each other. Qin Feiyang drank tea while Madman drank wine. They chatted. After a long time, Madman suddenly said, "No wonder you will help them open the door of potential. It turns out that you have an agreement with the Fire Feng people. Then let's talk about you. How did Big Brother train you?" He comprehended two supreme profound meanings so quickly. Qin Feiyang was curious. "Training?" Madman's mouth twitched and said helplessly, "That's torture, okay?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "To be able to comprehend too profound, even if it's torture, it's still a blessing. You don't deny it, right? But to be honest, these years, I have been living a life worse than death every day." Madman sighed. "What about Old Pei and the others? What level have they reached now?" Qin Feiyang asked. "The people who went this time have basically stepped into the perfection ruler realm. Even Wang Xiaojie, Qin Chun, Long Tianyu, and Zhuo Xiaocheng have stepped into the ruler realm. As for Old Pei and Old Wang, they were originally perfection ruler realm. Of course they are stronger now. You have to be mentally prepared. When they come out, they will definitely give you a shock." Madman snickered. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. Whether it was a surprise or a shock, as long as he became stronger, he would be happy. He asked, "What about the demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang? I didn't notice them when I went. Because that place is very big. After entering, everyone separated. I didn't plan to come out so soon, but I heard from Big Brother that you were going to fight the Crown Prince of the Dragon, so I was worried and came out to take a look." Madman shook his head. "Then when do you plan to go back?" Qin Feiyang asked. "I can't go back. That bastard rabbit said that if I leave, I can forget about going back in the future. You know its character. It always means what it says. However, I am strong enough now. I don't need to go back." Madman waved his hand in a carefree manner. Similarly, his friendship with Qin Feiyang was touching. He would rather give up such a good cultivation environment to come out and help him. "Thank you." Qin Feiyang held his teacup and smiled. "What's the point of saying thanks between brothers?" Madman rolled his eyes and clinked his wine cup in the air. Then a smile appeared on both their faces. "Brother Qin, Brother Emo." Suddenly, accompanied by a hoarse voice, Yun Zhongtian flew over. "Old Yun, it's been hard on you." Madman looked up at Yun Zhongtian and smiled. No. The one who has worked hard is Brother Qin." Yun Zhongtian waved his hand. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the Death God sword appeared and flew in front of Yun Zhongtian. Yun Zhongtian was taken aback. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Why don't we let the Death God sword follow you first?" "It's the same." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "All right." Yun Zhongtian nodded and kept the Death God sword. He sat by the side and looked at Madman in admiration. "Brother Emo, your strength has improved very quickly. Of course. How can a monstrous genius be undeserved?" Madman smiled proudly. Haha. Yun Zhongtian couldn't help but laugh. He really didn't know how to be humble at all. How would he know? In Madman's dictionary there was no such word as humble. Buzz. Suddenly, the sound transmission godstone rang. Qin Feiyong took out the sound transmission god stone and looked down. A smile appeared on his face. Who is it? Madman was suspicious. Elder Hua. Qin Feiyong smiled. After awakening, he realized that not only Elder Hua, Chu Yun and the Demon Hall Master were also there. Madman smiled. Now you guys are comfortable. The dragon's men have been scared away by us. No one will threaten you guys anymore. Yes, we are comfortable. Elder Hua nodded. He was in a good mood. Looking at Qin Feiyong and Madman, he asked, what kind of monsters are you two? How did you break through to the Paragon Dominator realm so quickly and even grasp two of the strongest laws? Don't be envious. This is not something you can be envious of. Madman smiled proudly. Elder Hua rolled his eyes. He looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, what is going on between you and the Feng people? They want to kill you and help you at the same time? The Feng people have two races. One is the Ice Phoenix, the other is the Fire Phoenix. Qin Feiyong explained the situation simply. So that's the case. Elder Hua nodded and said, there is something that I have discussed with the Hall Master and Xiao Yun. We feel that there is a need to tell you. What is it? Qin Feiyong looked at the three of them in confusion. Previously, when you were fighting with the Crown Prince of the Dragons, there was an old man with a white beard. You know him too. He is the storyteller in the tea house. Elder Hua said. Storyteller? Qin Feiyong was stunned. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said, I have some impression. What about him? This person said something very strange at the time. Elder Hua frowned. Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other. Strange words? That's right. He said a lot about the origin of the purple gold dragon blood. Elder Hua said. What? Qin Feiyong suddenly stood up and asked, what did he say? He said that many years ago, a purple gold dragon blood appeared and fell in love with a human man. Elder Hua repeated what the white-bearded old man said without missing a single word. This. Qin Feiyong and Yun Zhongqian were dumbfounded. What's wrong? Madman looked at the two of them in shock. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice, you don't know. When I asked Elder Hua about the Feng people, he said the same thing. What? Madman was stunned. Elder Hua and the other two also realized that this matter was not simple. Yun Zhongqian furrowed his brows and looked at Qin Feiyong to ask, according to what the Fiery Phoenix clan leader had said at that time, all of this was a secret and the number of people who knew about it could be counted on one hand. How did this white-bearded old man know about it? He's a storyteller. Could it be that he just guessed it? Chu Yun said. Impossible. There's no smoke without fire. Besides, if he really guessed it, there must be some deviation. How can it be exactly the same as what Elder Hua Feng people said? There must be a problem here. Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. You mean he might be someone who knows about it? Elder Hua asked. It's not a possibility, it's a certainty. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists. Elder Hua heard this and pondered for a while before saying, if that's the case, then let's go to the tea house now and control him? No need. Don't do anything about this. I'll go. Although the dragons have returned, our relationship can't be known by others. Qin Feiyong waved his hand. We know this. Elder Hua nodded. All right then. Qin Feiyong turned off the divine sound transmission stone and turned to look at Madman, saying, Master and the others will definitely send us a message later. Instead of waiting for them to send a message, why don't we take the initiative to send them a message and explain the situation during this period of time? Don't let them worry. Okay. Madman took out the divine sound transmission stone. Qin Feiyong looked at Yun Zhongqian and said, Elder Yun, go to the ancient castle and help keep an eye on it. Tell the white-eyed wolf to come over. Okay. Yun Zhongqian nodded his head and got up to head straight for the ancient castle. Chapter 3590. Buzz. Not long after, the Hall of Famers, the deputy leader, the leader, and the divine python couple appeared. The Hall of Famers laughed hoarsely. We were just about to send you a message. Qin Feiyong and the madman looked at each other. Sure enough. It was understandable. After all, so many things had happened. As elders, they would definitely care about them first. The two of them didn't hide anything and told the leader and the others the whole story. During this time, the white-eyed wolf also joined the group chat. After that, Knowing that Qin Feiyang and the others still had important matters to deal with, the leader and the others didn't delay any longer. They reminded them to be careful and turned off the voice transmission god stone. Xiao Yun already gave a simple explanation of the situation in the castle earlier. Actually, at the tea house I had a feeling that this old man was a little incomprehensible. I thought it was an illusion, but I didn't expect that there really was a problem. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and the madman and said, because it was the one who kidnapped the white-bearded old man, it had the most contact. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, let's not talk about this first. Has your energy sea recovered? Yes. The white-eyed wolf nodded, then frowned and said, it's strange. My recovery speed seems to be at least twice as fast as before. Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other, and then at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. For example, in the past it took me an hour to recover. Now, it seems that I can do it in less than an hour. The white-eyed wolf explained, his face full of suspicion. There's such a thing? Qin Feiyang frowned. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said in surprise, could this be related to your bloodline power? I thought so too. The white-eyed wolf nodded. No matter what, this is a good thing. We'll study it slowly in the future. Let's go to the tea house first. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and two people and one wolf appeared above the sea. The white-eyed wolf immediately waved its paw, and a space-time crack appeared. The two men and one wolf rushed into the passage without looking back. In the next moment, they arrived at the entrance of the tea house. Several years passed. There were no changes in the tea house. Most of the people who came here were scholars. The sound of the zither was still melodious. Isn't this young Master Qin, young Master Mo, and Lord Golden-Winged Wolf King? It was the same red-clothed woman who had received Qin Feiyang last time. She quickly walked out and looked at Qin Feiyang, the young man, and the white-eyed wolf with a smile. Qin Feiyang. Madman Mo. Golden-Winged Wolf King. When the guests sitting inside heard the woman in red's words, they looked toward the door and their expressions changed drastically. Weren't you still fighting on White Crane Island? How did you come to the tea house so quickly? I heard that Qin Feiyang is also a tea lover. It seems that he was also attracted by the king of tea here, the Longjing tea. A few people whispered, wow, it's really them. They are indeed extraordinary and handsome. A group of young women ran out of the tea house when they heard the news. When they saw Qin Feiyang and the madman, their eyes lit up. You have good taste. The madman touched his chin and smiled narcissistically. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him and looked at the red-clothed woman with a smile. May I ask if the storyteller is in the tea house right now? You are looking for the old man? The red-clothed woman was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. The red-clothed woman asked suspiciously, then may I ask why young master is looking for the old man? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Just say it. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows and shouted. The red-clothed woman's pupils constricted and she hurriedly said, Lord Wolf King, please calm down. This old man hasn't been to the tea house for a long time. The two people and the wolf looked at each other. The red-clothed woman asked, I wonder if the three of you have heard about the old man being kidnapped last time? I've heard about it. Qin Feiyang nodded. Since then the old man has never been here again. If not for someone seeing the old man on White Crane Island not long ago, we would have thought that something had happened to him. So, I'm very sorry for making the three of you come here for nothing. The red-clothed woman smiled apologetically. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and waved his hand with a smile. It's fine. Then do you know where he lives? The madman thought for a moment and asked the red-clothed woman. I don't know. Actually, I'm not very familiar with the old man. When he came to the tea house to tell stories, he was the one who asked for it. My young master found his stories quite interesting, so he asked him to come to the tea house to tell stories every day. The red-clothed woman smiled. I see. Qin Feiyang smiled and cupped his hands. Then I won't disturb you any longer. Young master, take care. The red-clothed woman bowed to send him off. Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf turned around and walked down the street aimlessly. Why did he disappear? Could it be that he also realized that he had attracted our attention? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. No. He didn't disappear. That red-clothed woman must know his whereabouts. Qin Feiyong shook his head. What do you mean? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyong in confusion. The madman spoke first and laughed. Because this woman revealed a flaw. A flaw? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Why didn't it notice it? Qin Feiyong looked at the madman and said with a smile, Senior brother's insight is still so terrifying. Don't flatter me. The madman rolled his eyes and looked at the white-eyed wolf. If the two really have an ordinary relationship, if it were you, would you respect the other party? Furthermore, it was a look of respect on his face. Of course not. The white-eyed wolf shook his head without thinking. That's right. If it were anyone else, facing someone who has nothing to do with them, they would at most show kindness and would never show respect. But that woman just now, when she talked about the white-bearded old man, although she concealed it, it wasn't difficult to see her respect for the white-bearded old man. If it was as she said, that she wasn't familiar with the white-bearded old man, then how could there be such respect in her words when facing an ordinary storyteller? The madman sneered. I see. The white-eyed wolf nodded in realization and then asked in confusion, then why didn't you directly expose her lie? Are you stupid? It's obvious that the white-bearded old man is related to the tea house. If we exposed her face to face, wouldn't it be the same as alerting the enemy? The madman rolled his eyes at the white-eyed wolf. That's right. It's not good for us to alert the enemy. And do you think a mere staff member has the guts to lie to us? Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. The white-eyed wolf pondered and frowned. You mean it was the housemaster behind the tea house who made the woman say that? Who else could it be besides him? Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. Now, not only the white-bearded old man, but also the entire tea house had problems. Brother Qin. Suddenly, two young men ran over. Qin Feiyong turned to look at the two young men and was slightly surprised. Both of them were around 20 years old, wearing brocade clothes and had extraordinary temperaments. Their cultivation was not bad, half-step imperishable realm. He had seen them before in the garden of the tea house. The two ran over breathlessly and nodded to the madman and the white-eyed wolf. What's the matter? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. The two calmed down and turned to look at the tea house. They whispered, Brother Qin, we're here to tell you a little secret. Qin Feiyong and the madman looked at the white-eyed wolf curiously. Actually, the people of the tea house are very familiar with the storyteller. I remember one time when we were sitting in the tea house drinking tea, we accidentally saw the woman sending a message to the white-bearded old man. Think about it. They have established a contract bridge. How can their concern be bad? The two whispered. Well, Qin Feiyong frowned and asked, is it possible that they established a contract because of work so that they can contact each other? No. I saw that they were chatting happily, and we noticed that the woman seemed to be very respectful when facing the white-bearded old man. In fact, not only us, but everyone who used to visit the tea house thought that the white-bearded old man was the elder of the owner of the tea house. So when we heard the woman say that she was not familiar with the white-bearded old man, we were very surprised. The two shook their heads. Qin Feiyong and the madman looked at the white-eyed wolf, and a light flashed in their eyes at the same time. Qin Feiyong looked at the two again and said with a smile, then let me ask you another thing. When did the tea house appear? When did it appear? The two were stunned. When did it open for business? Qin Feiyong asked in a different way. Oh, you mean this? The two suddenly smiled and said, let's think about it. After that, the two lowered their heads and pondered. After a while, one of the young men's eyes lit up. He looked up at Qin Feiyong and said, it should be more than 500 years ago. Yes. It was more than 500 years ago. The other young man also nodded quickly, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, because on the day of the opening I came with a friend. More than 500 years ago, Qin Feiyong murmured. At this time he was already a little famous in the sky cloud realm. Brother Qin, dare I ask, why did you ask about the tea house? The two looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Nothing, just curious. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and looked at the two with a smile. Thank you for telling me, brothers. When you have time next time, I will invite you to tea at the tea house. Really? Then we will be looking forward to it. The two were pleasantly surprised. Qin Feiyong smiled and cupped his hands. Then we will take our leave first. Okay. The two nodded. After walking away, Qin Feiyong turned his head and looked back. Seeing the two young men leave happily, he looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile, "It seems that as we guessed, this tea house has a lot of secrets. More than 500 years ago, if I remember correctly, we were already famous in the sky cloud realm." The madman laughed. Low-key, low-key. Qin Feiyong waved his hand. Tea house, Mr. Storyteller, interesting. Let's go. Let's meet this mysterious housemaster. Qin Feiyong's mind moved and activated the concealment art. The two men and the wolf immediately disappeared. Chapter 3591. Under the state of invisibility, the two humans and one wolf were simply unhindered. Not only did they smoothly enter the tea house, but they also successfully entered the teacups inside. The strange thing was, they didn't see the woman in red in the garden or the tea house outside. Was it possible that she was upstairs? Hence, the two of them and the wolf entered the second floor without anyone noticing. There were many tea guests on the second floor, but they still didn't see the woman in red. What's the situation? The two of them and the wolf looked around, their faces full of suspicion. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong saw a staircase leading to the third floor. Immediately, they entered the third floor. There was no guest on the third floor. It was empty. The two of them and the wolf stood by the railing and looked around. Finally, they found a half-closed door in front of them. Hence, they walked over. Through the door they could see that it was a study room. There was a desk and a bookshelf on the left and a coffee table and a tea set on the right. It looked very neat and clean and there was a nice smell of incense. The two of them and the wolf looked at each other and walked in quietly. There was no one in the study room. However, Qin Feiyong noticed that the teapot on the coffee table was still bubbling, and there was still half a cup of tea. The teacups were hot, and it was obvious that they had just been poured. This is strange. This should be the place where the owner of the tea house rests. Why don't I see anyone? The white-eyed wolf muttered. Madman let go of Qin Feiyong and appeared from his invisible state. He walked to the front of the bookshelf and looked at it for a while. Then, he smiled and said, "Astronomy, geography, poetry, ancient history, there are all kinds of books here. It seems like this floor master is really a scholar. Don't talk about this nonsense. I just want to know where this person went." The white-eyed wolf frowned. The madman turned to look at the desk and was slightly stunned. He quickly waved to Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf. "Come here." Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. They quickly walked over and saw the 4 treasures of the study placed on the desk. A piece of white paper was placed flat on the desk, and an inkstone was placed on top of it. On top of the inkstone there was an exquisite writing brush. There were a few lines of words on the paper. "Brother Qin, this humble one knows that Xiao Ying's previous performance cannot escape Brother Qin's eyes. You will definitely secretly come back to investigate, so this humble one will leave first. Brother Qin, please do not investigate my origins any further. When the time is right, I will naturally appear and explain everything. Also, presently, the tea pavilion can be considered to be a famous place for scholars in Ocean of Cloud City. It would truly be a waste if it were to close down just like that. So, I'll give it to Brother Qin and leave behind the Longjing tea seedlings. I hope that Brother Qin can deal with it properly. I hope Jun and Mo Nian will see you again." Qin Feiyong and White-Eyed Wolf were dumbfounded when they saw the content. Not only did they not find the person, they even got into such trouble. Moreover, this person was quite considerate and left behind the tea seedlings of the Longjing tea seedlings for them. This person is smart. He knew that we were coming, so he immediately fled. The madman smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyong and White-Eyed Wolf also walked out of their invisible state. Qin Feiyong glanced at the desk. There was a cosmos bag beside the inkstone. Then he grabbed the cosmos bag and immersed his divine sense into it. There were over 100 saplings lying quietly inside. Every single one of them was only the height of a palm. They were snow white and seemed to be condensed from frost. They emitted a shocking divine radiance. Were these the tea seedlings of the Longjing tea seedlings? The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyong and asked, "Little Qin Zi, what should we do now?" The corners of Qin Feiyong's mouth twitched. He hadn't expected that he would be tricked. This housemaster was really smart. He actually knew that the woman in red's performance couldn't escape his eyes. I'm very willing to accept these tea seedlings, but this tea pavilion, Qin Feiyong wasn't interested in it at all. He might as well use this time to cultivate. Then let's just leave. The white-eyed wolf said. The madman pondered and said, I think we should keep the tea pavilion, because if this housemaster wants to find us, he will definitely come to the tea pavilion first. Keep you here to take care of it? The white-eyed wolf asked. Me? The madman's face stiffened and he said disdainfully, I'm a drinker. How can I be interested in taking care of a tea house? Doesn't little Qin Zi like to drink tea? He's here. Do you think I want to talk to you? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at the madman. He did like to drink tea, but drinking tea and taking care of a tea house were two different things. Who said that tea drinkers like to open tea houses? The madman smiled embarrassedly. Qin Feiyong pondered for a while. Then, he suddenly looked at the madman and the white-eyed wolf and said with a smile, I thought of someone. Who? The man and the wolf looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyong didn't answer. He directly took out the voice-transmitting stone. Buzz. Soon, a shadow appeared. It was Yueching. Qin Dage, Brother Mo, Brother Wolf King. Yueching's face was full of smiles. Are you still in the Western continent? Qin Feiyong asked with a smile. Yes. What's the matter? Yueching nodded and asked. There is indeed something I need your help with. Since you are in the Western continent, ask Miao Miao to come to the tea pavilion now. I'll wait for her in the study on the 3rd floor. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Tea pavilion. Yueching was stunned. After thinking for a moment, she frowned and said, You mean the tea pavilion on the outskirts of the eastern city? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded. Yueching looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and nodded. Okay, I'll send a message to Miao Miao. About a moment later, a woman in colorful clothes walked into the tea pavilion coldly. Isn't this the owner of the Tianyue Tower, Miao? Why did she come to the tea pavilion? She is indeed a great beauty with exceptional talent. If I can marry her, I'll wake up laughing in my sleep. With Yi Miao's arrival, the tea pavilion immediately caused a commotion. But Yi Miao turned a deaf ear to all this. She went straight into the tea pavilion, went up to the 3rd floor, found the study, and quickly walked to the door of the study. Seeing Qin Feiyong, Lin Mengya, and the white-eyed wolf inside, her cold expression suddenly melted. She was like a beautiful bud in full bloom, full of charm. Qin Feiyong sensed Yi Miao's aura. He turned to look at Yi Miao, who was standing at the door, and said with a smile, Why are you standing outside? Come in quickly. Yi Miao nodded and walked in quickly. She chuckled and said, Qin Feiyong, Brother Mo, Brother Wolf King, you showed off your invincible power on White Crane Island not long ago. Now it's spread in all the major cities. It's just a small matter. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. He handed the letter left by the owner of the tea pavilion to Yi Miao. Yi Miao took the letter suspiciously. She lowered her head and read it. She asked in confusion, What does this mean? Do you know the owner of this place? I don't know him. Qin Feiyong shook his head. If you don't know him, why did he give you the tea pavilion? Yi Miao suddenly felt a little confused. Maybe it's because I'm popular. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and said, But I'm really not interested in these things. So I asked you to come and see if you have time to help me take care of it. There's no problem with the time, but I don't know much about the way of tea. I'm afraid. Yi Miao was a little hesitant. Who said that managing a tea house requires one to know about tea? Besides, you can ask someone who knows about tea to help manage it. In short, I'll give you the tea pavilion now. You can manage it however you want. I won't object even if it's included in the assets of Tianyue Tower. As for the Longjing tea, I think there should be a lot of it in the tea pavilion's warehouse. You can use it sparingly. When the tea saplings on my side are cultivated, I'll get someone to send it to you. Of course, you can also look for other tea leaves. After all, with your current status and financial resources, it's not difficult to find a tea comparable to the Longjing tea. With that, Qin Feiyong let the white-eyed wolf open a space-time passage. Qin Deiji, Yi Miao hurriedly called out, but Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf didn't respond. They entered the space-time passage without looking back and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Looking at this scene, Meow couldn't help but find it funny. She didn't expect that there was something that scared these two people and a wolf. In fact, Qin Feiyong and the others weren't scared. They just found it troublesome. Buzz. The divine voice transmitting stone sounded. Meow took out the divine voice transmitting stone, and Yueqing's virtual image appeared. Yueqing asked, "Have you been to the tea pavilion?" "I'm at the tea pavilion now." Meow smiled bitterly. "What about Qin Dage and the others?" Yueqing asked. "They ran away." Meow shook her head. "Ran away? What's the situation?" Yueqing was suspicious. Meow briefly explained the situation. Yueqing was stunned. She shook her head and said, "Don't blame them. After all, it's a waste of time for them to take care of the tea house. Since Qin Dage and the others have given the tea pavilion to us, then we'll do our best and take care of it well. That's the only way." Meow smiled helplessly. "Actually, for our Tianyue Tower, this is also an opportunity. I've been thinking, now that the Tianyue Tower has stabilized in the western and eastern continents, should we expand our business?" "I think it's a good choice," Yueqing said with a smile. Meow was slightly taken aback. She said suspiciously, "Although the Tianyue Tower has stabilized in the western and eastern continents, we haven't settled in the southern and northern continents yet, right? Although we have Qin Feiyong as our backer and it won't be a problem to enter the southern continent now, if we act too hastily, it might arouse the suspicion of the dragons. After all, the two of us have no power or influence, and we don't have powerful strength. It's difficult for them not to suspect us," Yueqing said in a deep voice. "That's true." Meow nodded and said with a smile, "All right. I'll make the arrangements now. Then I'll have to trouble you first. In a few days I'll go back and play with you. At the same time, I'll plan the development of the tea pavilion. Since it has fallen into our hands, it naturally can't be just the Cloud Sea City." Yueqing smiled. "Okay." Meow nodded. Outside the city above a huge mountain, Qin Feiyong the madman and the white-eyed wolf stood in the void, looking at the Cloud Sea City with a smile on their faces. They had finally gotten rid of this trouble. Qin Feiyong took a deep breath, looked at the madman and said, "I'll go to the Black Tortoise world first. Ask Master and the others about the coordinates of the northern continent." "Go to the northern continent later?" The madman was stunned. "Didn't the young man ask us to go take a look? Then let's go take a look. Who knows, we might have an unexpected gain." Qin Feiyong smiled and entered the Black Tortoise world to find Pei Dason and Pei Hongyu. Chapter 3592. What is this? When Qin Feiyong handed the Qingkuan bag to the Pei siblings, the siblings were suspicious. "This is a tea sapling. You must cultivate it well. Not a single one can die," Qin Feiyong instructed. If it was wine, even if it was a divine brew, he wouldn't care. But tea was different. And these were the Yulu Longjing tea that was known as the king of tea. He had drunk the Yulu Longjing tea before, and the taste was no worse than the heavenly immortal dew. When the siblings heard this, they immediately said firmly, "Young master, don't worry, we will definitely complete the task." Because they also knew that Qin Feiyong loved tea. For someone who loved tea, tea saplings were treasures. For Qin Feiyong to give them such an important thing, it meant that he trusted them, so they must not mess it up. What are they talking about? Suddenly, Qin Feiyong raised his head to look at the tea garden and discovered that Yun Zhongtian was seated with Princess Huafeng and the others, chatting and laughing as they chatted. Although less than an hour had passed outside, a long time had passed in the Black Tortoise world. Princess Huafeng and Pyrotechnic Glow were in high spirits, their bodies glowing with treasure light, as if they had been reborn. Obviously, they had successfully opened the door of potential. Who are they? The Pei siblings looked at the group of people suspiciously. Don't you know? Qin Feiyong was stunned. I don't know. During this time, we have been busy outside and haven't returned to the Devil's Land. The siblings shook their heads. They are from the Feng people. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly, and with a wave of his hand, the three of them appeared in the tea garden. Young Master Qin. The Daifuka brothers and Aunt Mei immediately stood up and bowed to Qin Feiyong, and their eyes were full of gratitude. Especially Aunt Mei and Aunt Lan. They never thought that the legendary first volume of the alchemy mantra would be in the hands of Qin Feiyang. They also didn't expect that the patriarch would reach such an agreement with Qin Feiyang. That was right. The Daifuku brothers had already told them about Qin Feiyang and Chief Huafeng people. Although it was just a transaction, he was still grateful to Qin Feiyang. Whether it was Daifuku, Xiaofu, Aunt Mei or Aunt Lan, they all treated Princess Huafeng and Pyrotechnic Glow as their own children. His own child had opened the door to potential and was reborn. How could he not be happy? How could he not be grateful? Seniors, you're too polite. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and smiled politely. Seeing this, Daifuku and the other three had a better impression of Qin Feiyang. If it were other young people who had Qin Feiyang's achievements, they would definitely be arrogant and look down on others. But the kid in front of him didn't have any arrogance. Sister, you really don't want to think about this Qin Feiyang? Look how charming he is. Look at that wolf cub, he's just a piece of trash. There's no comparison at all. Pyrotechnic Glow whispered. Haven't I told you the situation? Why are you still talking nonsense? Princess Huafeng glared at Pyrotechnic Glow and snorted. Besides, is the white-eyed wolf a piece of trash? Have you ever seen a piece of trash master the supreme meaning of the 5 strongest laws? If it's a piece of trash, then you're even worse than a piece of trash. Don't you know what your cultivation is? How dare you talk about others? Pyrotechnic Glow's face froze. In this way, he was really worse than a piece of trash. Pei Dason glanced at them and looked at Qin Feiyang. Young master, let's go plant tea seedlings first. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The brother and sister turned and walked to the side, scanning the tea garden. Seeing a small open space on the left, Pei Dason took out a small sapling and said with a smile, Hongyu, plant one there. Okay. Pei Hongyu nodded, carefully holding the tea seedling, and walked toward the open space. Seeing this, Pyrotechnic Glow looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise and said with a smile, brother-in-law. But before he could say anything, a fierce look glared at him. Pyrotechnic Glow shrunk his neck, smiled at Princess Huafeng, and quickly changed his words. Qin Dage, I didn't expect you to like drinking tea so much. There are so many tea plants, and you want to cultivate new ones. It's too simple. Add some new varieties. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Princess Huafeng glanced at the tea seedling in Pei Hongyu's hand. At first, she didn't pay much attention to it. But suddenly, she seemed to have noticed something. She stared at the tea seedling with a hint of surprise in her eyes. The Daifuku brothers noticed Princess Huafeng's anomaly and looked at the tea seedling suspiciously. Their pupils suddenly shrank. Xiaofu said telepathically, Your Highness, this seems to be the tea seedling of the Longjing Yulu? That's right. This is the Longjing Yulu. Why does Qin Feiyang have the Longjing Yulu's tea seedling? Although the Longjing Yulu isn't a divine tea, I remember that this is a new variety developed by that person. Other than him, no one else in this world can have it. Princess Huafeng thought to herself. So, these tea seedlings were given to Qin Feiyang by that person? When did they contact each other? The Daifuku brothers were secretly surprised. I don't know. Princess Huafeng shook her head and glanced at Qin Feiyang. Her eyes flickered with an inexplicable light. Qin Feiyang was entangled by Pyrotechnic Glow and didn't notice the abnormalities of Princess Huafeng and Daifuku brothers. It was worth mentioning that Pyrotechnic Glow, Aunt Mei, and Aunt Lan also saw the tea seedlings, but there was nothing unusual. Obviously, only Princess Huafeng and the Daifuku brothers knew the origin of the Longjing Yulu, but the three of them didn't say anything. Qin Dage, as a younger brother, I really don't want to criticize you. You're such a young and promising person. Why do you like these things that middle-aged and old people like? Isn't drinking good? Pyrotechnic Glow chattered non-stop. Qin Feiyang felt a headache. Why did he meet such a chatterbox? Moreover, tea should be for middle-aged and old people? What's wrong with young people drinking tea? Is it against the law? This, Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, looked at Princess Huafeng, and said with a smile, the door of your potential has been opened. Can you? What? You don't like us? You're asking us to leave? Princess Huafeng looked at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction. I'm thinking for your sake. After all, we're destined to be enemies in the future. It's not good to mix too much personal feelings now. Qin Feiyong smiled embarrassedly. Now is now. The future is the future. Besides, before we left, Father didn't say that we must go back. Princess Huafeng said lightly. Then what do you mean? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Princess Huafeng glanced around and said lightly, I think it's quite comfortable here. The environment is good. The most important thing is that it's quiet. I plan to stay here for a while. Qin Feiyong was stunned. Daifuku pyrotechnic glow. And the other two also looked at Princess Huafeng in shock. This didn't seem like something the eldest princess would say. Princess Huafeng looked at pyrotechnic glow and the other two and said with a smile, Zihue, Aunt Mei, Aunt Lan, you can go back first. If you don't go back, why should I go back? Pyrotechnic glow quickly waved his hand, looking unhappy. No, wait. Qin Feiyong quickly interrupted the conversation between the two and looked at Princess Huafeng angrily. What's so good about my place? Let's not talk about anything else. Let's just talk about the time array. The dragons have the time array of 5,000 years in a day. You Feng people must have it too. Why do you insist on staying here? What do you mean by insist? I'm the eldest princess of the Fire Phoenix clan. Shouldn't you feel honored to stay here? Let's talk about it later. The Fire Phoenix Divine Jade and Fire Phoenix Sword are still with me. Princess Huafeng looked at Qin Feiyong proudly. Don't forget that these two sovereign divine weapons belong to me temporarily. Qin Feiyong's face darkened. What kind of logic was this? So what if she was the eldest princess? It seemed that only the white-eyed wolf could deal with this woman. Yes, the right to use them does belong to you, but the final control is still in my hands. Princess Huafeng smiled proudly. A row of black lines appeared on Qin Feiyong's forehead. He wanted to slap himself in the face. How could he be so stupid to reason with a woman? Can a woman be reasoned with? Fine. I admit defeat. You want to follow me? Up to you. But if you want to stay in the Black Tortoise world, don't even think about it. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and forcefully swept up a group of people and appeared above the mountain peak outside. Are you preparing to return to the Phoenix Nest? The white-eyed wolf saw the group of people appear and looked at Princess Huafeng. He waved his hand and smiled. I won't send you off. Take care. Princess Huafeng's expression froze. This damn wolf cub, why did he seem more and more annoying? Qin Feiyong turned to Yun Zhongtian at the side and transmitted his voice over to him. Old Yun, you had better go to Sky Cloud Island. You've seen senior brother Feng Zi's growth with your own eyes, and this is a great opportunity for you. Bring some wine with you to Big Brother as well. Okay. Yun Zhongtian nodded. Indeed. Feng Er's growth over the years was too frightening. He didn't even dare to dream about it. So why wouldn't he go with such a good opportunity? He would be a fool not to go. Yun Zhongtian took out the sword of Thanatos and looked at it pleadingly. You must protect Brother Qin. Clang! The sword of Thanatos trembled in the void as a response. Then it disappeared into Qin Feiyong's body. White-eyed wolf, bring the wine. Qin Feiyong reached out to the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf jumped up and said angrily, Are you crazy? Can't you go find Zhao Si yourself? There's ready-made wine. Why would I go there? Qin Feiyong bared his teeth. How did I end up with such a bastard like you? The white-eyed wolf was furious. With a wave of his paw, 2,000 jugs of peerless divine wine appeared. Looking at these jugs, Pyrotechnic Glow's eyes lit up. Qin Feiyong looked at Yun Zhongtian and smiled. Go. Yun Zhongtian nodded. Looking at Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf, he reminded them, be careful. Feng Er waved his hand. We don't need you to worry about us. Work hard and don't let down old Qin's good intentions. That's right. We'll wait for your strong return. The white-eyed wolf waved his paw and a space-time portal appeared. We'll meet again. Yun Zhongtian waved his hand and brought the 2,000 jugs of peerless divine wine into the portal without looking back. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Looks like there's no need to control this old man anymore. He's already on our side. Although I haven't interacted much with him, I can tell that he's a good person. Feng Er nodded. Chapter 3593. Where are you taking Yun Zhongtian to? Princess Huafeng asked as she looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyong and the madman. But as the eldest princess of the Fire Phoenix clan, She knew her limits and did not ask any further. She then turned her head to look at Pyrotechnic Glow and Auntie May and said, "The two of you should go back as well. What's the rush?" Pyrotechnic Glow waved his hand and went over to the white-eyed wolf's side and said with a chuckle, "Wolf cub, what kind of wine is that? It looks rather tasty." Looking at the scene before her, Princess Huafeng's heart was filled with anger. The white-eyed wolf looked askance at Pyrotechnic Glow, and it was a long while before he spat out, "None of your business. You!" Pyrotechnic Glow glared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf ignored him completely and turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang to ask, listening to a certain woman's words, "It seems that you still want to shamelessly follow us?" Princess Huafeng's face darkened and she said angrily, Hey, I'm still right here. Don't treat me like air." "You're still here?" The white-eyed wolf was taken aback and he quickly turned to look at Princess Huafeng and smiled sheepishly. My apologies. Big brother thought you had already left. But why are you still here? The door to your potential has already been opened, right? We don't have anything else that can move your heart now. What are you still hanging around here for?" Princess Huafeng's hands were clenched tightly and her veins were popping. This damned wolf cub is asking for a beating. Qin Feiyang was laughing happily in his heart. A wicked person would be dealt with by another wicked person. Only the white-eyed wolf would be able to take care of this woman. "You wouldn't have taken a fancy to Big Brother's peerless looks, would you? Please don't. Big Brother has no interest in a woman without hair." The white-eyed wolf said with a shameless chuckle. "Scoundrel!" Princess Huafeng couldn't take it anymore and slapped the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf raised his paw and easily blocked Princess Huafeng's arm. He frowned and said, "Are you trying to attract my attention?" No. I'm really not interested in you." "I purposely attracted your attention?" Princess Huafeng was stunned. Then she became furious and roared, "Who do you think you are? Do I need to deliberately attract your attention?" She was about to explode from anger. How could there be such a shameless wolf cub in this world? The Daifuku brothers and Aunt May were also speechless. He had finally witnessed what it meant to be shameless. It was simply invincible. Pyrotechnic Glow glanced at Princess Huafeng and then at White-Eyed Wolf. He couldn't help but grumble in his heart. His sister was usually a very calm person. Why was she so easily angered now? Too abnormal. No. He couldn't let his sister stay alone. It was too dangerous. Pyrotechnic Glow looked at Aunt May and Lan Ruoxin and smiled. "Aunt May, Aunt Lan, you two go back first. Tell father that I'll be playing outside for a while." "What?" Aunt May and Lan Ruoxin looked at Pyrotechnic Glow in shock. "It's a happy decision," Pyrotechnic Glow said as he pushed the two of them. "I want you two to go back so that you can help pay attention to Bing Runing's movements. I know this woman's character too well. After suffering such a big loss this time, she definitely won't let it go." Qin Feiyang heard this and looked at Pyrotechnic Glow in surprise. He didn't expect this person to be so smart. "Okay. Then be careful." Aunt May and Lan Ruoxin smiled helplessly. Pyrotechnic Glow smiled proudly. "Don't worry. With the Flaming Phoenix Blade and the Divine Phoenix Spear protecting me, who dares to do anything to me?" The two of them shook their heads and smiled bitterly. They looked at Qin Feiyang and Lunatic and apologized. "We're sorry for causing trouble for you two brothers. But I hope you two brothers can help me take care of the two princes. Who needs their care?" Princess Huafeng snorted. Aunt May looked at the first princess and sighed. "Your Highness, you can't say that. After all, you and your brother have just come out. But they are different. They have been wandering outside for a long time, and know how sinister people can be. Also, you have good taste." White-Eyed Wolf looked at Aunt May and grinned. Aunt May smiled at White-Eyed Wolf and looked at the first princess in Pyrotechnic Glow. "Anyway, try to listen to them. Don't be willful." "I know." Princess Huafeng waved her hand. "You still think we are long-winded?" Aunt May and Lunatic shook their heads helplessly and turned to Daifuku. Daifuku opened a space-time tunnel, and the two of them walked in without looking back. How troublesome. White-Eyed Wolf glanced at the siblings, shook his head and sighed. Princess Huafeng glared at him fiercely. "It will be very lively along the way." Qin Feiyang also shook his head and sighed. He turned to Lunatic and asked, Do you have the coordinates of the northern continent? Yes. Lunatic nodded. Qin Feiyong said. Then let's change our appearances and set off. Why are we going to the northern continent? Pyrotechnic Glow looked at the two of them and the wolf suspiciously. White-eyed Wolf raised his eyebrows and looked at Pyrotechnic Glow. Since you are following us, you should know a rule. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. If you don't speak, don't speak. What are you so arrogant for? Pyrotechnic Glow glared at White-eyed Wolf. Not happy? Then scram. I'm not stopping you. White-eyed Wolf said and turned into a big fat black cat. Waha, you're too funny. Pyrotechnic Glow was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. Idiot. White-eyed Wolf glanced at him. Just these two words made Pyrotechnic Glow angry again. Qin Feiyong and Lunatic also turned into two ordinary-looking young men. Is it necessary? With your current strength, who dares to provoke you? Princess Huafeng didn't understand. If you want to be surrounded like a monkey, you can come with us like this. White-eyed Wolf waved his paw and opened a space-time passage. He then jumped up and landed on Qin Feiyong's shoulder. Qin Feiyong and Lunatic looked at each other and smiled, then stepped into the space-time passage. Bastard! Princess Huafeng stomped her feet and changed her appearance slightly before following them into the passage. Their consideration is actually very thorough. After all, such a big thing happened on White Crane Island. The people of the Sky Cloud realm already know us. If we appear in front of them like this, it will definitely cause a commotion. Daifuku and Lunatic smiled in appreciation. Compared to Qin Feiyong and the others who had rich experience, the two princesses were still lacking. Northern continent. Mountains rose and fell, majestic and magnificent. A city called Fengyuan City was located in the center of the northern continent. It was like a king looking down on all directions. According to Master, Fengyuan City is the largest city in the northern continent. If we want to ask for information, it is the best place to come. In front of the city gate there was a wide road. People came and went in a hurry. Qin Feiyong, Lunatic and White-eyed Wolf walked in front. Princess Huafeng and the other four followed behind unhurriedly. As Lunatic walked towards Fengyuan City, he introduced it to Qin Feiyong in a low voice. Qin Feiyong asked curiously, "How far is Fengyuan City from Sky Palace?" "The time is too short, so I didn't ask. But as long as we enter Fengyuan City, it is naturally not difficult to ask about Sky Palace." "But why are you interested in Sky Palace?" Lunatic looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously. Sky Palace is the ruler of the northern continent. Since we came to the northern continent, we naturally have to ask about Sky Palace. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. So that's how it is. Lunatic nodded in realization. Suddenly, he frowned and said, "Say, that guy asked us to come to the northern continent. Is it related to Sky Palace?" "I don't know." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "That guy is too much. If he has something to say, just say it. Why must we find the answer ourselves? Does he really think that we are like him and have nothing to do every day?" White-eyed Wolf said angrily. "What's the use of complaining here?" Lunatic rolled his eyes at him. Actually, it was also a headache. Because they did not know the young man's intentions. If it was someone else, it would be fine. They could analyze it step by step. But this young man was as unfathomable as the ocean. They could not guess what he was thinking. Soon, the group smoothly entered Fengyuan City. There were guards at the city gate, but they did not check them one by one. After all, compared to the Western continent, Eastern continent, and Southern continent, the Northern continent was the most peaceful place. Inside the city, there was an endless stream of people and carriages. Princess Huafeng and Pyrotechnic Glow were entering a human city for the first time. Everything was new to them. Qin Feiyong and the others did not pay attention to it. They listened and observed their surroundings. Now, what they heard the most was the battle on White Crane Island. "I didn't expect it to spread so quickly." Lunatic shook his head. "The thing that this world does not lack the most is gossip." White-eyed Wolf pursed his lips. Fortunately, he had the foresight to change his appearance. Otherwise, he would definitely cause a huge uproar the moment he stepped into Fengyuan City. "Brother, look. The ornaments inside are so beautiful. And the clothes over there are so beautiful. Come with me to take a look." Princess Huafeng was like a little girl at this moment. She looked at the dazzling array of shops on both sides of the street. Her eyes were shining. The Daifuka brothers looked helpless. They looked at Qin Feiyong, lunatic, and white-eyed wolf and smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, our phoenix nest does not have these things. So no matter what you see, your highnesses will find it fresh. You don't even have these? Your phoenix nest is too boring. Lunatic said. This place is different. The ones living in the phoenix nest are all divine phoenixes. Not to mention strolling around, even playing around is a waste of time for everyone. Daifuka sighed. So you only know how to cultivate? Lunatic asked. The two nodded. That's so boring. No matter what you do, you have to strike a balance between work and rest. Lunatic had a look of disdain. This can only mean that everyone's lifestyle is different. Daifuka smiled. Lunatic heard this and turned to look at Princess Huafeng and Lunatic, who ran into the shop. He could not help but have a trace of sympathy on his face. Then he looked at White-Eyed Wolf and laughed. Brother Wolf, actually this woman is not bad. Do you want to consider her? Of course. These words were said through voice transmission. After all, the Daifuka brothers were at the side. White-Eyed Wolf smiled in disdain and said indifferently, if you like her, then go. Don't blindly matchmake her. If I wasn't already taken, would you have a chance? Lunatic sneered. It's okay. I believe that little fairy won't object to you finding a concubine. White-Eyed Wolf bared his teeth. Lunatic's face turned black. I am talking to you about serious matters and you are talking nonsense with me? Chapter 3594. Madman pointed at the white-eyed wolf, looked at Qin Feiyong and said angrily, Do you see that? Do you see that? This child is unteachable. Qin Feiyong patted Madman's shoulder and comforted him. Although I also have the same intention, you can't force things. Look on the bright side. That's right. The emperor is not in a hurry, but the eunuch is. The white-eyed wolf dug his nose. I became a eunuch? Madman was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Scram. Suddenly, a shout sounded. Two black-clothed youths hurriedly walked over and pushed away Qin Feiyong and the others. They then walked towards the accessory store without looking back. Qin Feiyong and the others were stunned. What's going on? When they came back to their senses, the two had already entered the accessory store. Who is so arrogant? Madman frowned. Qin Feiyong, the white-eyed wolf, and the Daifuka brothers also looked suspiciously at the accessory store. Do you see the word heaven on their chests? That's the symbol of the heavenly palace. They are both disciples of the heavenly palace. The surrounding pedestrians also came over and whispered. Qin Feiyong and Madman looked at each other. No wonder they were so arrogant. It turned out that they were disciples of the heavenly palace. As the ruler of the northern continent, the disciples of the heavenly palace naturally had unparalleled status and power. No matter who it was, they had to be respectful when they saw them. Not good. They are going to the accessory store of the two highnesses. The Daifuka brothers' faces suddenly changed as they quickly ran towards the accessory store. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and immediately followed. Accessory store. All the items sold here were handmade items. The store was not very big, but it was full of dazzling items. Princess Huafeng was holding a jade pendant and carefully examining it. Pyrotechnic Glow was also curiously looking at the small items placed on the counter. Other than the siblings, there were more than a dozen young men and women. Most of them were couples. The owner of the shop was an old man. He was dressed in plain clothes, had white hair, and was hunched over. However, he seemed to be in good spirits. He had a polite smile on his face as he kept introducing various items to the customers in the shop. It could be said that the atmosphere in the shop was quite harmonious. However, with the arrival of the two Heavenly Hall's disciples, the customers in the store immediately fell into a panic. One by one, they put down the items in their hands and retreated to the side. Their faces were filled with fear as they looked at the black-clothed young man and the black-clothed young man. The shop owner's expression changed slightly when he saw the two young men. He hurriedly ran in front of them with a flattering smile on his old face. Princess Huafeng raised her head and looked at the two of them. A hint of suspicion flashed across her eyes. Then she lowered her head and looked at the jade pendant in her hand. She did not recognize the symbol of the heavenly palace at all. Moreover, even if they knew each other, they would not care about two mere sky palace's disciples. Old man, have you prepared the things we want? The two young men looked at the old man with their noses in the air, looking overbearing. Not yet. The old man stammered, his face filled with fear. What? Not yet. Do you take our words for granted? We said last time that we'll only give you 3 months. Old man, we've already given you enough face by giving you 3 months to prepare. So don't be so shameless. The two of them immediately roared with hostility when they heard the old man's words. I know. But as you can see, I only have this small shop. Asking me to gather 10 million soul stones in 3 months is really difficult for me. Why don't you give me a few more months? The old man looked at the two of them pleadingly. What? You want us to give you a few more months? The two of them were furious when they heard that. They said in a gloomy voice, let me tell you, you have to give us the 10 million soul stones today. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude and destroying your lousy shop. Qin Feiyong and the others entered the accessory store. They walked to Princess Huafeng and Pyrotechnic Glow and asked suspiciously, what's going on? It seems like they're here to collect their debts. Pyrotechnic Glow shook his head. Of course, this kind of thing couldn't arouse his interest. Besides, it was only right and proper to repay debts. Hearing the two young men's words, the old man's expression changed. He quickly waved his hand and said, you can't destroy it. You can't destroy it. I've already gathered more than 1 million soul stones. Why don't I give it to you first? You only managed to gather more than 1 million soul stones in 3 months? Then how long do we have to wait for the 10 million? The two of them were full of hostility. Sorry. It's all because I'm useless. Please give me a little more time. The old man was already kneeling on the ground and begging. Princess Huafeng put down the jade pendant in her hand. She glanced at the pitiful old man, then at the two arrogant young men. She smiled faintly and said, Old man, how much is this jade pendant? The old man looked at Princess Huafeng and said apologetically, Miss, I'm sorry. Our shop only accepts soul stones. If you're willing, give me 100 soul stones. Normally, transactions were done with divine crystals. Using soul stones here seemed like the old man had no choice but to pay his debts. Okay. Princess Huafeng nodded and looked at Daifuku beside her. She smiled and said, give him 10 million soul stones. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned, including the two young men. Didn't the shop owner say that he only wanted 100 soul stones? Why did he give 10 million? Qin Feiyong and Madman also looked at each other. When they came back to their senses, they laughed inwardly. This woman is quite kind. Princess Huafeng was clearly helping the old man by doing this. 10 million soul stones was naturally nothing to the eldest princess of the Fire Phoenix clan. But what was precious was her kindness. Miss, you can't. The old man came back to his senses and hurriedly looked at Princess Huafeng. He said, thank you for your kindness, miss, but I can't accept these soul stones because I don't deserve them. Old man, are you stupid? Someone gave you soul stones and you didn't want them. Why are you pretending to be virtuous? The two young men sneered. The old man said angrily, I'm not pretending to be virtuous. I'm earning money with my conscience. Can your conscience feed you? The two young men smiled disdainfully and looked at Princess Huafeng. They stretched out their hands and said, he owes us 10 million. Just give it to us. Princess Huafeng glanced at the two and then looked at Daifuku. Give it to them. Yes. Daifuku nodded and was about to take out the soul stones from his interspatial ring. But at this moment, the white-eyed wolf jumped down from Qin Feiyong's shoulder and stopped Daifuku. Daifuku looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. The white-eyed wolf didn't explain. It looked at the two young men and then at the old man. Originally, it didn't intend to pay attention to them. But when it heard the old man say that he was earning money with his conscience, it couldn't help but feel a little confused. Because not everyone could say something like that. So its intuition told it that there was something wrong with this matter. The white-eyed wolf looked at the two young men and asked, how did he owe you 10 million soul stones? Are you asking us? The two young men were stunned. Otherwise, the white-eyed wolf picked its nose and said, who are you? How dare you question us? Do you know what this is? The two young men pointed at the word heaven on their chests and shouted, "Yes, it's the symbol of the heavenly palace." The white-eyed wolf nodded. "Then how dare you meddle in our business? If you don't want to die, scram." The two young men's eyes flashed with killing intent. The white-eyed wolf raised its eyebrows. How dare they ask it to scram? They must be tired of living. Actually, I'm quite curious too. He's just an ordinary old man. How did he owe you 10 million soul stones? Qin Feiyong stood out and asked with a smile. There are so many nosy people nowadays. Okay, I'll tell you. 3 months ago, his grandson injured us, so he has to compensate us. His grandson can't be found now, so of course we have to ask him for it. The two young men sneered. Hearing this, the old man clenched his fists as if he had something to complain about, but he didn't dare to say it. I see. Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. After thinking for a while, he asked in confusion, "But you're disciples of the heavenly palace, and your cultivation is quite good. Both of you are half-step imperishable realm. Is his grandson stronger than you?" "Humph. His grandson is also a disciple of the heavenly palace. Of course he's no match for us with real swords and spears, but his grandson is scheming behind our backs." The two young men snorted. Qin Feiyong nodded in realization and said with a smile, "Then we do have to compensate." "It's not like that." The old man seemed to be unable to suppress the anger in his heart and roared with a hoarse voice. Qin Feiyong looked at the old man suspiciously. The old man wanted to say something but stopped, looking at the two young men with fear. Princess Huifeng frowned and said to the old man, "Old man, if you're really wronged, you can say it out and let everyone judge." "That's right. Justice is in people's hearts. As long as what you say is true, I believe there will be people who will help you get an explanation." Pyrotechnic Glow also nodded. The old man looked at the siblings and pointed at the two young men. He gritted his teeth and said, "They're all slandering me. My grandson never attacked them. They were the ones who attacked my grandson, and my grandson seriously injured one of them." Qin Feiyong and the others looked at each other. There really was an injustice. "Old man, what nonsense are you talking about?" The two young men were furious and glared at the old man. "I'm not talking nonsense." The old man angrily roared. Looking at Qin Feiyong and the crowd surrounding the entrance, he painfully said, 3 months ago, my grandson was training outside and inadvertently found a treasure chest. It was originally a very happy thing, but in the end, he was discovered by them and they joined forces to sneak attack my grandson." From the old man's explanation, Qin Feiyong and the others finally understood that it was these two people who were tempted by the wealth and sneak attacked the old man's grandson. However, the old man's grandson was very vigilant and was also a half-step undead realm cultivator. Therefore, even though he was heavily injured, he was still lucky enough to escape. But the two young men were worried that the old man's grandson would take revenge on them, so they chased the old man's grandson and killed him. After that, the two young men didn't feel guilty. Instead, they joined forces and came to blackmail the old man. The old man was alone and didn't have a good cultivation. Plus, the two young men threatened him, so he had to give in. Also, the old man went to the Sky Palace and asked the higher-ups for help, but it was useless. The two young men insisted that the old man's grandson attacked them first, so they had to kill him. Because there was no third person at the scene, no one could prove it. So the higher-ups of the Sky Palace ignored the old man's request. And because there was no evidence, the two young men became more and more arrogant in their blackmail. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.